Joe? Salvaggio. We've been trying to get hold of you. You've been a very busy man. Welcome to Leon Valley. We're so glad you're here.
Me too.
All right. Certificate of Achievement. Whereas in recognition of your promotion to the rank of Administrative Hearing Officer with the Leon Valley Police Department, this Certificate of Achievement is awarded to Mike Taggart. Whereas in recognition of the excellent record you compiled during your 30-plus years of dedicated law enforcement service to the grateful citizens of Texas and the United States. Whereas as captain of the Texas Department of Public Safety and a chief master sergeant with the U.S. Air Force, you tirelessly served the state and our country, keeping us all safe from criminals, selflessly serving those in need, and honorably helping all members of the community regardless of gender, race, religion, or creed. Whereas you have steadfastly upheld your oath to enforce all federal, state, and local laws in an impartial manner, your integrity, character, and ethics have remained above reproach, setting the example for the citizens that we serve, as well as all officers in the law enforcement community. Now, therefore, I, Chris Riley, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, do hereby promote you to the rank of Administrative Hearing Officer with the Leon Valley Police Department. Signed by my hand this 6th day of March, 2018, Mayor Chris Riley. Thank you, officer. Would you please say a few words?
Well, I'm generally a fellow with few words.
Uh-oh.
So
And you're the Administrative Hearing Officer for the red light cameras.
I am one of two of the officers.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's been a pleasure coming to work here.
Good.
Been with Chief Salvaggio for a few years. We've known each other quite a while. And then just meeting all the guys here. So took me out of retirement.
Oh, really?
Brought me back to work. Shouldn't have answered the phone, I guess, but I did.
I didn't say you'd been retired.
Well, I did retire for a little while.
Okay, very good.
But, yeah, glad to be here and looking forward to working with Joe and everybody else here and you as well.
We're so glad.
Thank
Chief,
you.
how about
So,
you?
I told y'all the last time the other guy would be coming in here, so y'all can come up and kiss his hand, all you citizens. No, I'm kidding. He's the guy that actually is going to be doing the hearings. And as I promised you, we were looking for a little bit older, a little bit more seasoned. Not that he's old, but just somebody that can sit down with the citizens and have a really good, calm conversation about whatever's going on when they come in. And so one of the first people I thought about was Mike. And I know he was retired, but we had talked before about if the right job come about that he'd be willing to come out. So thank you for answering that call. He's answered my call for about 20 years now, and I've seen him all over the world. So great ethical person and somebody that will definitely do everything for the community and for the citizens. I appreciate that. And he brings a lot of other things to the table to help us out as well. So Becky, would you like to come up and pin on his badge? Had me a few times. I've seen him overseas a couple of times.
We do have another presentation, number 3, recognition of Leon Valley Police Officer of the Year. Officer Andy Griego, Detective Terry Brooks, Corporal Chad Mandry, and Sergeant Joel Ulialis, excuse me. And I'm going to have Chief Joe give the introduction here, but I do want to say after this recognition, we've got some proclamations and statutes to give. We will break for about 10 minutes, and there's a reception for these officers in recognition of their honor this year. And then we will reconvene the council meeting after the reception, okay? So with that said, Chief, would you like to?
I'm going to let you read this, ma'am.
Okay.
But before it gets started, this is the first year that we've actually honored the 4 different ranks. Very important. The first thing I'll tell you is last year was the first time that the police department had actually given an Officer of the Year award. And it was actually somebody that was a patrolman at the time who's now coming back now as a corporal to get it again. And so this is not a selection that I made. I would have made it, I promise you. It'd probably been just about the same as what you're seeing here. Not probably, it would have been. But this was important to me to set up the program where the officers themselves voted for these positions. And so it's important that the sergeant is voted by those patrolmen that work with him. The detective is the patrolman that he responds to help, and same thing with the corporal. So these aren't my selections, even though they would be. These are selections from the officers and the men and women of the police department. And while it wasn't unanimous, it was very, very skewed. I'm in a class for statistics right now, so I'm using this kind of language. It's very skewed to the kurtosis side, to the right, for these guys. I have to practice. I'm almost done with it for these guys here. And so after each one, I'll say one little quick thing about them, but I'll tell you that for every single one of them, I asked the officers not only to give me a name, but also give me a small narrative of why. And every single one of them, it wasn't just the work they did as police officers, it was also the work they did with the community and everyone. And I'll touch on that when we go through them, ma'am. Thank you.
Officer Andy Griego. Congratulations. So glad you're here. Thank you. And how long have you been here?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, very good. Thank you. Let me read this Certificate of Achievement. Whereas in recognition of being chosen by your peers as the Officer of the Year, this Certificate of Achievement is awarded to Andy Griego. Whereas in recognition of the excellent record you have compiled during your 2 years of dedicated law enforcement service to the grateful citizens of Leon Valley. Whereas your dedicated police work throughout the year solved many crimes, prevented many others, and resulted in numerous arrests of criminals throughout the Leon Valley. In addition, your willingness to take on the role of our public information officer ensured that citizens of our community were kept informed of criminal activity, dangerous situations, and important events in our community. Now, therefore, I, Chris Riley, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, do hereby congratulate you and name you as 2017 Leon Valley Police Department Officer of the Year, signed by my hand this 17th day of April, 2018, Mayor Chris Riley. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. What would you like to say? Do you have any family here that you'd like to recognize?
Yes, my fiance and my 2 daughters.
Oh, wonderful. Congratulations. Would you like to join us? Yes, they're beautiful. And what would you like to say? I'll hold this and you can.
Just want to thank the Chief Salvaggio for giving me the opportunity to serve as a public information officer. I'm hoping to grow in that position. Thank the officers that voted for me. I couldn't do what I do without their help. My shift supervisors have helped me, guided me, so I appreciate their help. So,
Very good. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you so much. Let's again thank Officer Andy Griego for his award. All right. There you go. Whew. It's a little warm, and I have Excuse me if I'm a little off today. I have been in a courtroom all day. No windows, listening to testimony. That's my other day job occasionally, and it's just happened to be today. So please forgive me if I'm a little off tonight. Certificate of Achievement. Let's bring up Terry Brooks. Terry? Very good. Detective of the Year. Thank you, Terry. We're so glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
All right. Certificate of Achievement. Whereas in recognition of being chosen by your peers as Detective of the Year, this Certificate of Achievement is awarded to Terry Brooks. Whereas in recognition of the excellent record you have compiled during your 16-plus years of dedicated law enforcement service to the grateful citizens of Leon Valley and other communities. Whereas your investigation of numerous criminal cases throughout Leon Valley ensured that suspects were brought to justice and victims were treated with the utmost dignity and respect. In addition, your volunteering to become the Special Olympics coordinator resulted in our department raising thousands of dollars, leading all other agencies in the Bexar County area, and being recognized throughout the state. Also, your selfless service to the Blue Santa program and teaching safety programs at local churches brought great credit upon yourself, the police department, and the city of Leon Valley. Now, therefore, I, Chris Riley, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, do hereby congratulate you and name you as the 2017 Leon Valley Police Department Detective of the Year, signed by my hand this 17th day of April, 2018, Mayor Chris Riley. Let's again show our appreciation to Detective Brooks on this honor. Congratulations. And do you have family that you
Yeah.
want to recognize as well?
Right, I do have, I'm sorry.
Let's get one without just us, please, and then bring it
Okay.
up.
That's my wife, Erin Brooks.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Congratulations. I know you're so proud of them. What would you like to say? A few words?
Sure. Well, just
Yes.
thank you guys, and it's been a pleasure being in Leon Valley and working with all of you guys as well. So I just want to say thank you and look forward to many days ahead. So just thanks.
You're welcome.
So Terry's only been with us about a year and a half, or
About a little
over a year. And when Terry interviewed for a different job, he walked out and I can't remember what it was. Everybody said, "Go get him and tell him if you don't get this job, we got another one for him." He was as sincere in there as he is in here, and as he does every day when he goes out to work there. The help with Special Olympics has been huge, and that wasn't just something we put on there about us leading the city. We have been leading Bexar County in numerous of these fundraisers throughout the year, and so that says a lot for a little bitty department like this compared to some that are out there. We've done some great things in the community, great things to help those kids, and Terry's been at the forefront of that, as well as bringing up to us the ability to go out and teach these churches the active shooter stuff that will hopefully, heaven forbid something ever happens, but save a life. I was kind of, and I haven't talked to you about it, Terry, this last weekend we were at Temple Bethel, weekend before last, I think. And it was interesting seeing them actually employ those techniques that you were teaching them.
Good.
And so that's very good. And so I thank you for everything you've done. It's not just those things. He's as a good a detective and the work he's doing there as well. So very, very well deserved, and I appreciate everything.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Congratulations. Thank you. Oh, this is Corporal of the Year, Chad Mandry. Chad, come on down. I feel like, what's that? Price is Right. Yeah, Price is Right. Come on down. Chad, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm just so happy for you. All right. Certificate of Achievement. Whereas in recognition of being chosen by your peers as Corporal of the Year, this Certificate of Achievement is awarded to Chad Mandry. Whereas in recognition of the excellent record you have compiled during your 11 years of dedicated law enforcement service to the grateful citizens of Leon Valley. Whereas your dedicated police work throughout the year solved many crimes, prevented many others, and resulted in numerous arrests of criminals throughout Leon Valley. In addition, your volunteering to write grants brought thousands of dollars in equipment to our police department. Also, your selfless service to the Blue Santa program, Special Olympics, and Clarity brought great credit upon yourself, the police department, and the city of Leon Valley. Now, therefore, I, Chris Riley, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, do hereby congratulate you and name you as 2017 Leon Valley Police Department Corporal of the Year. Signed by my hand on this 17th day of April, 2018. Mayor Chris Riley, congratulations. There is a theme to all of these awards because you're not just the police officer, but you are, like you said, into the community and giving back. And so we are so proud of that. All right.
So Chad's,
Yes. I want you to say a few
one
words
of the
in
people
your
when I got
fiancé
here
here.
that I realized that
Yes.
we can build a foundation with the organization. Not that it was a bad organization, but that I knew he had the right mindset. And I figured it out real quick because I kept seeing stuff pop up on Facebook that Chad was doing that I had no idea that he was out there in the community doing. And so I had to call him in and say, come here, why are you not letting us know? He's like, nobody cared in the past, not knocking anybody, but I've always just done this on my own. I said, no more. We're part of a team. I'm not going to stop you from doing anything, but I want to give you the support that you need for all of these things. And so this last year prior Christmas, or even after that, the stuff that he did for Blue Santa, going out and going to all the schools with us, he was Blue Santa for us. And as well as throughout the year, it's nothing about his weight, I swear. As well as throughout the year, different people that he helped out that we saw in the community. Somebody found somebody living in a vehicle, and within days, he had clothes, roof over their head, and prospects for jobs. And so that's what he does, and that's what a police officer should do. And so I thank you every day, Chad, that you go out there and do those things. The money that you brought to us, I didn't put an exact dollar amount because it's not finished. It's been well over $100,000. If we get the grant we're looking at now, it'll be right at $200,000 in a very short period of time. And what's important for you guys out there in the audience here, that are civilians here, that money doesn't come out of your pocket. And so it's free money to the city. And so that's a good thing. So at work and off duty, representing the city very well. And thank you very much for everything you do for the community.
No. I want you to say something.
I was gonna.
Oh, you're going to say, okay, you're going to. See, but you can't do it all.
Okay,
There we go. There you go. And would you like to introduce your family?
This is my fiance Mia, my 3 boys, Nathaniel, Camden, and Michael. If you can come up here. So, thank you. I've enjoyed my time at Leon Valley Police Department, and I appreciate the support of the administration and the confidence in my coworkers for this nomination. Things you talked about, it wasn't done by myself, obviously. It's fortunate with all the officers we have that work together, and then just being a hub of generosity from friends that contacted me to help get things done. So thank you.
Okay, and we have.
Say Joel. He knows.
Joel. Okay. Joel is the Sergeant of the Year. You're a Dallas. Thank you. Congratulations. We're so glad you're here. Let me read the Certificate of Achievement. Whereas in recognition of being chosen by your peers as Sergeant of the Year, this Certificate of Achievement is awarded to Joel Uradalis. Whereas in recognition of the excellent record you have compiled during your 29 years of dedicated law enforcement service to the grateful citizens of Leon Valley and other communities. Whereas your dedicated leadership and constant mentoring made the officers of our department better, allowing them to better serve the community. In addition, you're volunteering to oversee the installation of new radios, less lethal devices, computers, body cameras, and vehicles ensured that the officers had the best equipment available. Also, your selfless service to the Blue Santa program, Special Olympics, and teaching safety programs at local churches brought great credit upon yourself, the police department, and the city of Leon Valley. Now, therefore, I, Chris Riley, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, do hereby congratulate you and name you as 2017 Leon Valley Police Department Sergeant of the Year. Signed by my hand this 17th day of April 2018, Mayor Chris Riley. Let's congratulate Sergeant Uri Dallas.
So, Joel kind of followed me from my last job, and I didn't make any friends when he left over there. They're still mad at me, but that's okay. Knowing what I had in store, knowing what we had in front of us, there was nobody that I could have reached out to help build what we were trying to build. And so he's been an integral part. The officers, though, I knew all those things he did with the computers and the radios and all that stuff that you guys purchased for us, the forfeiture fund, and over the last year. But he's the guy that had to handle getting it in, ordering it, getting it in, and getting it all installed. And I don't understand all that stuff, and so most cops don't, and he does. But the officers, when they wrote in, a few of them mentioned that, but the vast majority of them mentioned that his willingness to stay over on the shift, come in early on the shift earlier to help explain and help, make them better police officers. To me, that was the most important. The rest of it is usually something they don't notice. They just know they got a radio and it works. But they really noticed the mentoring he did over this last year, and I appreciate that more than the radios and everything else, Joel. Great job. I'm so happy to have you on the team. He worked for me for 4 years when I was a commander of the Airport Police Department, and he did that role of technology and all that stuff for me there. So I didn't get to see him in that mentoring side that much, except he did a lot of teaching. So seeing that and hearing that from the officers tells me that exactly what I thought you would be as a supervisor. You are. So thank you very much.
My wife and my daughter and my son are here.
Please come forward. Your wife, your son, and your daughter.
Yes, my son's over here. He just ran in from UT. He had a class, afternoon class.
That was so nice. Thank you. Congratulations.
First of all, I would like to thank my family for giving me the opportunity and the support I need to come out here every day and do my job. Second, I want to thank all the officers from the department that welcomed me into the department as a new member and just, took me in as family. I enjoyed the mentoring part. I enjoyed the teaching part. And then I also have to give special thanks to the administration for putting up with me and the way I think and the way I do things. I'm a little technical and I'm a little artsy. So I'm a little different than any other officer. And I would also like to thank the community for allowing me to come to Leon Valley and be part of this great community. Thank you.
Does she have to go because of the reception? Huh? Okay, let's do it then. All right, so we do have a reception. So if there's no objection from our council, at approximately 6:32 on Tuesday, April 17th, we'll adjourn until 6:45, and then we'll reconvene the meeting. Please join our honorees of the police department for cake and punch. Thank you all very much. So adjourned. Or reconvene. Congratulations to all of the officers of the year, Officer of the Year, Lieutenant of the Year, Corporal of the Year, and Detective of the Year. We appreciate your service to Leon Valley and congratulate you. That was awesome. So thank you. I hope you all enjoyed the reception as well. Okay, so we are reconvening back into our regular city council meeting at approximately 6:47 on Tuesday, April the 17th. And we realized that we did not read a proclamation for the air quality. I'm so sorry. This is, my brain is not, So Lisa, come on back up. Let me read this proclamation. So.
Oh, stand by over there.
I'll do my best. It didn't happen. It's so good to see you, Chief. Thank you. So we just saw each other, right? Okay, so let's read this proclamation. Whereas air pollution affects the quality of our air, thereby harming public health and environment. And whereas children, elderly adults, people with pre-existing respiratory conditions, and those that are frequently outdoors are most vulnerable to the effects of outdoor air pollution. And whereas on-road transportation sources significantly contribute to the creation of ozone pollution, a component of smog, by emitting harmful nitrogen oxides. And whereas walking, riding a bike, carpooling, and taking transit are modes of transportation that can help enhance quality of life, spur economic development, improve air quality, improve public health, and reduce traffic congestion. Whereas the City of Leon Valley recognizes the importance of reducing traffic congestion and improving air quality for the sake of public health and the environment. Whereas the Alamo Area Council of Governments Walk and Road Challenge, held in support of the Alamo Area Metropolitan Planning Organization's Walk and Roll program, encourages residents to take alternative transportation trips and record them on newride.com during the month of May. The Walk and Road Challenge also includes a friendly competition between employers to see whose employees can record the highest percentage of alternative transportation trips. Eligible trips include carpool, vanpooling, walking, biking, telecommuting, and working a compressed week. Recording trips on newride.com earns participants rewards towards discounts at various establishments. This proclamation is a unique opportunity to take action and improve our air quality. Now, therefore, I, Chris Riley, Mayor of the City of Leon Valley, in recognition thereof, do hereby proclaim May 2018 to be National Air Quality Awareness Month in Leon Valley. Signed by my hand, the 17th day of April 2018, Mayor Chris Riley. Let's again congratulate the fire department for taking the lead on this very important initiative. Thank you. All right, we're going to see a lot of people out there on their bikes, right? Okay, thank you. Really appreciate it. Oh, picture. Oh. Thank you. All right. Whoops. Okay, moving then to presentation number 4. It's with great honor and pleasure to introduce Raymond Diaz, Chair of the Pool Advisory Committee, to give his annual report. Mr. Diaz, good evening and welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, Council and citizens. This is a hard act to follow. All the wonderful things the policemen did, it's just amazing. And then air quality, that's also very important. So all I'm going to talk about is water. So I'm Raymond Diaz, and I'm chairman of the Pool Advisory Committee. These are the members of the committee that are listed there. I would like to thank all of them for the great work they've done and all the hours they've committed to this committee. A background, the committee has met 6 times since January. The work to date includes reviewing previous year pool operations, operating cost, review of the SELA contract, and approving a list of recommendations for the upcoming 2018 season. The committee has met with SELA, which is the company that will be managing the pools, twice to review the recommendations and discuss implementation. The city operates, of course, 2 pools, the one on Forest Grove and the one on Strawflower. The opening season is Memorial Day weekend, which is May the 26th, 2018. Hope to see everybody there. One of the meetings that we had, during one of the meetings, we brainstormed to see ways of offsetting the expenses of the pool. And on column 1 is revenue sources. And we thought about concessions, swim lessons, swim team, first aid and lifeguard training, water aerobics, tennis lessons, water polo lessons, scuba lessons. Also parties, if anybody wanted to have a party, they could either have a birthday or even daycares could come by, which they do, and family reunions, athletic teams, end of school parties. That would be my party. Wedding receptions, rehearsal dinners, and also fundraisers, swim team, barbecues, the polar bear plunge, teen clubs, lifeguard orientation, talent shows, concerts, garden club, and advisory committees. And the last column, we thought about having special nights where we would charge for food only. That would be like swim, music, pizza parties, movies, and of course, I think they're talking about movies, new releases, old releases, very old releases, 10 releases, preteen and preschool releases and documentaries. So hopefully we can get these going. The Pool Advisory Committee actions and recommendations. We recommend that we continue with SELA Aquatics to run the pools. However, add programs to enhance the revenue. The Pool Advisory Committee assisted in the review of the SELA contract, but we would also like to thank Ms. Frederick, Ms. Denise Frederick, the city attorney, for the help she gave us in reviewing that contract. Made it easy for us. Thank you. Okay, Pool Advisory Committee actions and recommendations continue. We recommended closing alternate days so one pool could remain open. I believe last year both pools were closed
On Mondays.
on Mondays, so this year we plan to have at least one pool open.
Right.
So that, and close one pool so that it could be available to the citizens. This could be accomplished by a staff person working maximize the use of tennis courts. They're located at the Forest Oaks pool. The one on Sunflower doesn't have one, but we would hope to be able to get some tennis pros and tennis lessons going, pro coach type thing. And also we recommend that SELA hire as many local residents as possible to work at both pools. Number 7, increase the menu options. A lot of the citizens came up to us and told us they would like to see more menu options for food. And so we were able to come up with the list there to include hot dogs, corn dogs, ice cream, popcorn, chips, nuts, drinks, and candy. And then look into the possibility of not allowing food in the pool areas, and that being so that we could increase the revenue made from the concessions. Number 8, open the pools one day a week before the Memorial Day weekend to invite the community to an open house and use the opportunity to market lessons, swim team aerobics, and party rentals. Number 9, recommend that cash handling, billing for these additional programs are through the contractor and not the city. And number 10, continue to monitor the upcoming pool season and provide additional recommendations as needed. And this last one, number 10, is important because if we're to have a good program for the pools, it's important that we have good communication with the supplier, which is SELA, so that we could continue to improve the process of pool service to the city of Leon Valley and ultimately the citizens of Leon Valley. And that's it. If anybody has any questions.
Very good. Mr. Diaz, I know we approved this contract at the last city council meeting.
Correct.
And have you gotten any word on the fee schedule yet from SELA?
I have not. The committee has not. We will be sure to ask that next time we meet with them. We plan to have
I
another.
know they needed the contract approved by the council before they could get out there and start marketing and saying how much everything was going to be.
That's correct. They wanted to get, be able to market the pools and to get everything in place so that we could help the company in that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, very good. I'm sure we'll get that information
Right,
as soon as possible because
There's any other
May
questions?
is right around the corner. Yeah, right. It's the 17th. Any other questions? Yes, Councilor Jordan.
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you to the citizens for assisting us and the city and SELA in providing alternatives and hopefully good service for the citizens through this next pool season. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You bet.
Before I leave, I'd like to ask any members of the Pool Advisory Committee that are present to please stand so you can be
Yes,
recognized.
please do.
Please.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
Appreciate that, Mr. Diaz. Okay, next we have our monthly financial report for March 2018. Vicki Wallace, our finance director, is here. Good evening, Vicki, and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Yes.
This is for the month of March, and kind of it just keeps on. It's still good. Our sales tax is up 2.3. If you remember that for the previous month it was 1.15, so now it's even better.
It's 2.03.
2.03. It's up, and last month it was 1.15. So now it's up 2.3. So it's one of those things that keeps changing. If you remember the month before that, there was like 4.45% that it was up. So I'm just happy because we're at least going to meet our budget no matter what. It appears. Unless something drastic happens, we're going to meet our budget.
And last year we exceeded our sales tax as well, did we not? Yes. Okay.
We sure did. And as you can see, based upon the ad valorem, that's coming in very well. We're doing very well with that. We're at 97 this same time last year. We're at 93, so there's no issues. Again, we have the same thing with franchise fees that we had last time with the CPS. We're going to continue. We should wash out and be just fine with that when we get to the end of the fiscal year because we accrued part of the CPS back to the fiscal year 17. So we're going to do the same thing when we get to this fiscal year. So it should pretty much wash out. There's nothing that I'm really concerned about as far as that is. If you look at your miscellaneous revenue, you see it's at 162. It was at 252.
Would you give us some examples of that?
Of what's in miscellaneous? Yeah. Anytime we get a refund from insurance that goes in there, part of the thing that was in there last year is when we got the money from the DPS, the light signal up there, that went into there. So that's why you see some discrepancy there between the 2 years, is because we got that money last year and this year we don't have it.
Okay. Good example.
Get to the expenditures, there is nothing. We should be at 50%. The only department is Parks and Recreation, but I'm not concerned because she's done most of her capital stuff, so there's nothing there. None of those concern me whatsoever in the general fund. Do you have any questions?
Well, see, it looks like economic development is a little bit
I'm going
further
to get to
down.
that one.
Oh, you are. That's right. We have a separate slide on that. That's right. You talk about that separately. Thank you.
And the thing with that, when I get to it, we'll talk about that one. Water and sewer, basically, we're at 46.5. We're at 45.3. We're getting really close there. Remember I said I don't really get too concerned about it until we get to the summer months, and that's when we're really going to see it because people in the winter months are doing their sewer averaging, so they are trying to, to conserve their water. So it's nothing up there that I'm really concerned about. The same thing with their expenditures. The only thing that you see a little bit over is the stormwater, but again, if we come out in the bottom, which, Melinda's always on top of her budget, there's nothing there that I'm concerned about whatsoever. And if you see the miscellaneous revenue, that's the money that we're getting for CDBG, the grant for the Timber Hill.
We have 2 grants, right?
Yes, Timber
Right.
Hill and Conestoga, and so that's why you see that.
Okay.
Now, the thing I want to talk to you about on the community center fund, if you remember for the report for the hotel tax, we were ahead. The one hotel that did not pay and we were having problems paying, what they did last year, they used to pay every single month. So when we got to the end of the quarter, we were okay. We knew what we were. We knew what we had. He is not paying every month, which he's not required to do, but it skews the numbers. So if you look at, for fiscal year 17, that 19,408 now contains monthly, and so it sort of messes your numbers up, so you have to go back and look, okay, what are we looking at? So that's, I'm not still concerned.
So how many hotels do we collect on? Just the one?
3.
3? Okay, the one at Wurzbach.
And in-town suites, both of those, one of them
Okay.
is considered in-town suites Bandera Road, and one of them is in-town suites Leon Valley, and we get separate checks for each one of them.
Okay, but I thought because they're long stay, we
well,
don't
they
get
have to
as...
stay over 30 days.
Okay,
so
so we get the revenue for the 30 days. Okay,
So
but
anything below that, yeah.
okay, so we still get a little bit from that. Okay,
yeah.
for the most part, I thought it was more long stay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you're going to continue to see that, and that's kind of what bothers me when they do that. If you lose the consistency of payments if they don't pay on quarterly, and then all of a sudden they stop paying quarterly, and they have to pay quarterly. That they don't have to pay monthly, but he was, and now he stopped it.
Right.
So, and nothing else within that department. Their expenditures and everything, they're right where they should be. Economic development.
Okay, can I ask you on the can you go back to that slide? It's not reflected in this slide, our expenditure for the new air conditioning unit, right?
No, not yet.
Not yet, but it's
No,
coming.
because
Okay.
this is for
Right.
March, and they were just out there, and I don't even know if they're done with it,
Okay.
but they were there last week.
They're
and
not
they're
done.
not done yet.
Okay.
So it's
all
not.
right. So that's not reflected yet. Okay, thank you.
Economic development. Okay, your question for that was, Mayor?
Well, it was such a low number in expenditure, so that should mean that we have more money to spend, right?
Well, no, it depends on what happens, because you have so much in there for project funding. If you spend all of the money for project funding, then you're not going to. So a big portion of that is project funding.
Yeah. Right. But
Yeah.
do we have any projects in the pipeline? Yes. We do. And you'll report it on your on your city manager, or you want to go ahead and do it now?
Your pleasure, Mayor. I was not going to because I was going to vet them through the Economic and Community Development group next Wednesday.
Okay, and is
So
that...
whatever you'd like.
Let's see.
So
How much is
far,
how much is in our project?
112. And so-
112, it's
yeah.
not...
And so
okay,
we've
it's
spent
not
so
here.
far 3,952 was for the recording studio, and then the North Star Sports we've paid out, and that was 18.
For the sign?
Yes,
Okay,
and that's all we've paid out for
Okay.
project funding.
all right. Very good.
That really, the other thing is, we had the rebates that we're not paying, that I don't want to go into detail about those right now, but.
The rebates that we're not paying?
Yeah, that no longer the agreements are, they're null and void, we're no longer paying them.
It's the 380 agreement that I terminated.
Oh, yes, okay. Okay.
And so then you asked for a red light camera.
Sure did, yeah.
One.
Mhm.
So basically, this is, to show you what we've done. Anything that shows that's web payments, lockbox, that's all something that ATS collects. For walk-ins, that's what we collect right here in the office. So for March, $35,850 was collected. We're sitting at about $140,000 as of today.
Oh,
What
wow.
does lockbox mean?
Lockbox is to where they have it it depends on how they have it, but normally you can have a lockbox at a bank, and the bank actually goes in to that lockbox, and there's a P.O. box so they can send their payment to it. They open it up, and then they deposit it directly to whatever account they have specified. So what ATS does, they do the web lockbox, and what they do then every Monday, they send us a wire of whatever they've collected on any of those, and it hits our bank then on Tuesday.
Okay. But you're saying that 35,000 is actually at 140
Right now.
currently?
Currently. That's only as of March. As
Three
of today-
3/31/18, the end of March, right?
Yeah, yes.
So from 3/31/18 to
Because there's kind of a
April
lag.
17, 2 more weeks, it's now gone from 35 to 140.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
So as you can see, then I just listed out, the tier 1 is all the expenditures that we have to account for and report to the state. Anything that's left over revenue, over expenditures, half of that goes to the state, and the other half is what we consider tier 2. Tier 2 is what we use for our traffic safety program, and that's what's considered our money used for those programs. So that's why I report it to you separately like that, so you can see it, because we do track it, and you'll see it in the budget. It'll be tracked separately like that.
Okay, so the contractual in tier 1 is the actual company
Yes.
that we serve,
That is correct.
okay, and what's the contractual in tier 2?
In tier 2, basically anything that might come up, because there's officers, so if there's anything that comes up as far as computers or anything else, repairs, just like with us, that they have to do,
okay.
that's what that's for. That is our traffic safety. That's kind of like our money that's left over after we've done all of our expenditures in tier 1.
Okay. And then supplies and personnel.
Right.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the council on the red light cameras? This is a new chart that we've never seen before, so I'm just trying
Does
to
it make
digest
sense?
it. Yeah. I've got some more questions, but I would like Councilor Jordan to add to the conversation, please.
Yeah, what would you say the balance was? 140?
40.
So we're paying, was it $4,000 per camera per month, something like that, for times 10 cameras, or so that's 40-some thousand off of that amount, right? And then the state, did you say the state gets half of that?
Okay, everything that's in tier 1,
Mm-hmm.
whatever is left, revenues over expenditures, the state gets half of it. So even that's personnel costs, supplies, contractual, anything that we have in tier 1, we have to record and report it. And the difference, if whatever's left, whatever revenue over expenditures, then the state gets half of it. So it's just not the contract, it's everything in tier 1, which would be personnel, supplies, so forth.
May I add something to that? Because if you're trying to do the math now, it's not gonna compute, because it went online February 21st. We didn't receive our first check till March 17th. There's at least a 3-week lag. And so when she reported this on the 31st, on the 17th, we got one person pay it. Next couple of days was 2 and 3. And so we are still approving citations for the month of March, and it's the 16th now.
Oh, of April.
So,
okay.
because it's taken about 16 days for the company to get it to us, and then we turn it pretty quick, and then by the time it gets out there, it's over 3 weeks. It's within that 3rd and 4th week they're getting it. So right now, the numbers, like you just saw, a jump of 100,000 in 2 weeks. It's going to be more than likely much bigger than that. So it's just right now, don't try to look at that number up there, and because it's not reflective of what a normal monthly period would be.
Okay. All right.
It's not going to be for a while.
It's going to take a couple of months for those to catch up.
Okay. Anything else? Oh, yes, Councilor Martinez.
Is there any way to shorten that 3-week period, or is that something you're going to work towards?
Good question, sir. ATS, the company, the vendor, they're trying to get it down. Their goal is to get it down to 12 days. That's kind of the average for them. They're not there yet, and part of it has to do with the amount that we're receiving at this point. So our goal, we can't really control that aspect of it. Our goal is to get it down along with them, because it puts us on a very short time frame, because by law, they have to receive it within 30 days of the violation. So if they don't get it to us till the 16th day, and it still has to go back to the company, then that puts us in a very short window. And so we've had the conversation with them. They said definitely it's something that they're looking to overcome in the very near future. But as of today, they were still, I talked to them this morning, they were still doing stuff from March. I think it was the 30th or 31st they were on. So they're getting there. We hadn't hit the first April citation.
Okay. Anything else? Where is how much are we sending to the state? I don't see that.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know
What we
yet?
have to do is
Okay.
I have the spreadsheet.
You're going to add it?
No, what I do is I have a spreadsheet,
Uh-huh.
and I record the revenue by month, whether or not we've received it from them or not, because it depends on when they wire it to us, because we're going to accrue that anyways when we get to the end of the fiscal year, even if we haven't received it. So I record whatever the revenue says for the month of March, and then I record what the expenditures are. Then when we get to the end of the month, we make sure, after we do all of our adjusted entries, make sure we all balance, and then we have to file a report with the state. That's when we pay the state. So it'll be at the end of the fiscal year, pretty much when we're done with our audit.
Oh, the end of the fiscal year, so we
Right.
don't pay them monthly? Okay, I thought we paid them monthly. Okay.
Once a year.
Okay,
And so
once a
it gives us time to sort of,
Okay.
flesh
makes it
things
easy.
out and know where we're heading and know how it looks for us.
But I guess you're going to have to put that in some kind of an escrow every month, right?
It's sitting, actually, right now,
Or-
it's just sitting over in the revenue account.
Oh, it is.
And I've been back and forth with others, like, talking to other cities what they did, and some of them said they did, and some of them said, no, they just left it there, and the year in, they just look and see what the state gets, and they pay it out of there,
Oh,
because it's hard
okay.
to set up a liability right now, because we don't know, because we don't have a
No historical
Right,
data.
and if
Yeah.
something else happens and there's an expenditure, like if something's got misclassified, then we classify it back. So if we already set that liability up, it's like, nope, that comes back to us, then you end up doing all these journal entries to fix it. So most of the cities that have it, as a matter of fact, when I was at GFOET, I talked to the city of Hutto that used to do it. And they basically, they don't do it anymore, but what they did is they just left it in revenue and waited till year end. They found it was so much easier and cleaner, and to see really how all the expenditures, how did they fall out, how did the revenue fall out, then they did the report to the state.
Okay, all right,
At the end of the
very
year.
good, thank you. All right. Okay. Impound lot, there you go, that's another
So
one.
you wanted to see that.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, as of March, 72,415, auctions 39. They just had an auction, which will be reflected in the next report. Then there you can see your personal expenditures. So they're at 77,128.
Okay, so we have 111 for, what, 6 months of the budget? I'm trying to think, October, November,
Yes, March
December.
would make
Yeah,
6 months, yes,
50%, yeah.
ma'am. Yes.
And we've budgeted 180, so we'll certainly,
Yeah, but and the budget now, let me just reemphasize
Mm-hmm.
that's not a full year, because we didn't really bring someone on full-time until December.
okay,
And so
all right, thank you for pointing that out. Okay,
full year either.
okay, thank
Any
you.
questions?
All right, any questions on the impound lot, or? All right, so we're in,
No.
I know, I'm always, I
And
love
so
the budget.
Just point out again that if anybody wants to see any of these reports, or they want to see our CAFR, they want to see our monthly financials, or any of our budget, they can actually pull up this PowerPoint on our city website, click on it, and it'll take you right to where all the reports and stuff are at.
Very good. Thank you so much, Vicki. Really appreciate your help. And look, I'm glad we're doing this every month because we're the stewards of the public money, so it's important for us to get a good bird's eye view of it every month. So thank you for doing that. All right. Then we move to our city manager's report. Ms. Kessler, good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Council. I do have some sad news to report. Just got a news clip that former First Lady Barbara Bush passed away.
Oh,
So I
I'm
thought
so
I would
sorry.
share the information with everybody. Brandon, would you stand up for me, please?
Oh, okay.
I wanted to introduce Brandon Milland. He is our new Planning and Zoning Director. He's got a bachelor's degree in architecture, a master's degree in architecture, and he also is AICP certified. So he's a certified planner. He has planning and zoning experience from the Oklahoma City. I don't know if anybody's ever been to downtown Oklahoma City, but the redevelopment that's been done in downtown, Brandon actually had a piece in that pie. He also has some planning experience with the cities of Bulverde and San Marcos. So he will be heading up our planning and zoning department, and I've already heard got an email and then a verbal compliment from 2 of the staff members already. They're so happy that you're there and so excited about what you know and what they're going to learn. So we're happy to have you here, and I just wanted to introduce you to the council and to our citizens so everybody could put a name to a face.
Thank you, you, Mayor and Council.
Welcome,
I'm
yeah.
so excited to be here, so excited to serve
Great.
this community, great community, and the opportunities ahead, so I'm really looking forward to being part of that, so.
Okay, and are you and Melinda working side by side for a couple of weeks until you transition over? She's a great teacher. She's got lots of historical knowledge, so wonderful. Well, thank you. We're so glad you're here, and great.
Very much.
You bet. Look forward to working with you.
Also, want to let you know that thanks to Madi Bell, where is she? She gone? Madi Bell Mendoza, the one that you saw down there taking pictures and everything, she's done already so many things to the website that we couldn't do. Certainly I couldn't. And so I want to thank her for that. But she now has us on Instagram. So if you want to follow the City of Leon Valley on Instagram, we got really creative with our name. It's City of Leon Valley. Okay, so she said, are you going to write Instagram down? And I said, yeah, because I'll probably get it confused with some other app. But anyway, so we've got an Instagram. The two topics, I wanted to talk about the coffee. The two topics that I have thus far for the April 28th Coffee with the Mayor and Council are, number one, we're going to review the newest goals that we've now revised based on citizen input from the town hall meeting, and the presenter of that is going to be Melinda Moritz, because I'm going to be out of town for that coffee. And then there was some discussion on us following San Antonio's lead to make the sale of tobacco illegal to those under the age of 21. And then the third thing I had is possibly revisiting our sign ordinance. So are those three topics good? Is that too much? I just want to go ahead and get that agenda ready for you. But those are the three topics that I've heard, unless I'm missing something.
Anything else?
I'm sorry, what was the first topic?
The first topic, Councilor Jordan, was just the continuation of the discussion on our newest goals and objectives. We started that at the town hall, and we got input from all the citizens. So we put that input together, and then Melinda will be presenting that so that we can continue to refine and define our goals that everybody in the city would like to see.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Yes.
Okay.
And did you contact the Department of Health? The cities, they will help us with that presentation. I think I told you that.
Yes, they did say they would help us with that presentation. I have not asked for them yet because I have not received an okay on the agenda items. But if you all are okay with those three agenda items, I'll stick that. That'll be the coffee. And I think that's plenty of subject matter for 2 hours.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. Sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll get that posted. FEMA video. So I sent you all a link, but I want to make sure that the citizens know, because this is really cool stuff. We have a link on our Facebook account, the fire department's Facebook account, on Nextdoor. I can't remember if I did it or Chief Valdez did it. One of us did it. But Leon Valley is amongst 3 cities. We are examples of cities that provide best practices in our flood mitigation and our prevention efforts. And so if you have the opportunity, please go and view that very professionally done FEMA link, because like I said, across the United States, we are one of 3 cities featured. And truly, the reason that we are featured, the 2 instrumental people in the City of Leon Valley staff are sitting right over here, and that's Melinda Moritz and Chief Louis Valdez. They have been so helpful. They know what they're doing, and I'm smart enough to know that they're so much better at flood mitigation than I am, so I just let them run with it, and they do an excellent job. And so I'm so proud of them. And Melinda, she looked like a movie star on the video. You have to see it.
I know you didn't have your glasses on, Melinda. I didn't recognize you.
She had on makeup. She looked like a movie star.
She looked great. Ms. Kinsler, can we tell the other 2 cities that were also on the video besides us?
Fifi.
Do you remember? Cape Girardeau. And Miami Beach.
Miami Beach.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, signing autographs in the back. Okay. But it's only a 5-minute video, but I thought it was very effective. I'm sorry. I mean, it wasn't a movie. But,
It was so well
But
done.
it was very well
It
done.
was. I'm so
well
proud
done.
of
It was
you
well
all.
done. So
So
thank you,
proud.
yes.
I've been contacted by San Antonio City Councilor Anda Sandoval, and I don't know if you've noticed, but she's been doing property tax appeal workshops around the city, and she asked if we would jointly host one at the conference center on May the 7th. So we began to post that. I've already posted that. I think that's on all of our social media at this point, maybe not on Nextdoor yet because I couldn't get the picture compatible, but I'll get that up. So we are going to host this workshop. The event begins at 7, doors open at 6:30. It's my understanding from past workshops, they get pretty full. So I don't know if it'll happen here, but I thought it was a great thing for the city to co-sponsor because, you know, you get the same property tax appeal process as anybody else in Bexar County. So I'm really excited they wanted to do that in Leon Valley. It's at the conference center, and the doors will open at 6:30, and the presentation starts at 7:00 p.m.
And Ms. Kinsler, will her staff present, or who will be the presenter?
You know, Mayor, I don't know who the presenter is, but her staff, and they arrange it all and have
Okay.
the presenters there. They just tell us how they want the room set up. So they're using our venue and our equipment, and we're co-sponsoring it so that we can make certain that our residents get the same information.
Right, and I believe the deadline to protest is like at the end of May or something, so it's, I'm sorry? May 15th, thank you, it's earlier this year. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Okay, well, thank you so much, Barbara, for that. I do appreciate that. So it's coming very, very timely, very quickly.
That's
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Also, you all have done this for years, and I just want you to see how many people that you helped. AARP sends the tax aids over to that community center, and then we end up getting a report letting us know how many free tax returns they did. They did 454 this year.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Very good.
so
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
An in-kind grant that we gave the ARP.
Absolutely. What they do is they set up there at the community center
Wonderful.
at their table, and I know you all have been doing it before I got here. And it seems like those numbers of returns filed continue to increase, so their service is obviously being utilized.
And that's with Evers Road's closure.
Closure,
there.
they had
Hey,
more.
Yes.
Mhm. That's a good point.
Because that's been a challenge. That's great.
So the
Good
next
news.
regular city council meeting is May 1st at 6:00 p.m. Yoga classes are still going on through April 29th. Library volunteer appreciation event is this Wednesday from 5 to 7. Coffee with the mayor and council, as we just discussed, is Saturday, April 28th from 9 until 11, and that'll be at the conference center. May 5th is the general election. Early voting starts April the 23rd through May the 1st. The City of San Antonio's tricentennial is from May 1st through the 6th. If you want to know more about any tricentennial event, you can go to sanantonio300.org. Candidate forum hosted by the League of Women Voters is tomorrow night from 6 to 8 p.m., and that's at the conference center. Am I right? Conference center. Okay. Library summer reading program kickoff Saturday, June 9th at 10:30 in the morning. Police Advisory Committee meets tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Zoning Commission meets April 24th at 7:00 p.m. Hike and Bike Committee will meet May 8th at 6:00 p.m. With that said, I will be in for a few hours tomorrow, and then we'll be off the rest of the week. And so if I'm not responding to emails or you need immediate attention, feel free to call Ms. Caldera. Okay?
Okay,
And I will stand for questions.
all right. Yes, Councilor Martinez.
I have one question in reference to the BOA report. It appears like they're missing a page from page 34 to 35.
Which report was that?
Board of
Okay.
Adjustment,
Can you give me a page number?
34. Yeah, I do read the packet.
Counselor Martinez, it's possible that when it was scanned in, it sucked through 2 pages at one time, so I can rescan that and put it in your next packet.
Okay.
I'm also wondering, Sandra, because page 34 is way down low compared to the other pages, if maybe only like 2/3 of that page or 3/4 of it got scanned. That's almost what it looks like.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, it looks like that.
Doesn't it?
It sure does.
Yeah, I think you're just missing a few paragraphs, but we'll definitely resubmit that. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Kinsler? Ms. Kinsler, I just had a follow-up. I know we've been dealing, or you've been working, and Melinda has been working with the water consultant, but we were going to try to look at the water rates and adjustment, and we're waiting for a report, and I just don't know where that is, and I'd like to know.
I just emailed Melinda last week, and she said it should be any day. I don't know if you have a new update or not, Melinda. Okay. We
Okay,
just
so
have,
as
we
soon
met
as-
with her months ago.
I know.
Several months ago.
So what's the process then? We get the report, and then we bring it to council, we have another meeting with the citizens, what?
So, Mayor, Council, I think that's a policy decision on what you want to do. But what we will do is we will release the report to you as an informational piece, and we will have her do the exact same thing that she did before, come in and do the presentation on her
Okay.
findings, and then you can give us direction.
Okay, excellent, thank you. I just was wondering status, because we've
It's
been working
taken a
on it
long
for
time
months.
this time. Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Do appreciate that. Anybody else? Okay. Then moving to citizens to be heard. Is there any citizen in our chambers this evening that would like to address the council? Please come forth and state your name and where you live. And you have, it's cold in here. Mr. Barrera says it's cold in here. I think it was hot, and so we turned it down, and now it's cold. 68. Yes, let's do that. And you have up to 5 minutes to speak.
6938 Forest Way, and I would like one of the police persons. Oh, there you are. Thank you. Because not too long ago, several weeks ago, we had another incident at our house in that somebody lost control of their car and ran into our big rosemary bush, which I had nursed for many years to look beautiful, and turned the mailbox over, and of course disappeared. And my question is, what can we do about Forest Way, at the corner of Forest Way and Forest Crest, that will reduce not only the speed, but at the same time, I would say 80% of the people in their cars do not come to a complete stop at that stop sign. Today, when I came to the council meeting, there were 3 cars as I was backing out, which is a challenge by itself. None of those 3 cars came to a complete stop. And I realized not too long ago, they had a police car sitting on Forest Crest, checking what they're doing. But to me, that is not the answer, because as soon as somebody comes and sees a police car, well, hey, they're going to slow down and be a good driver. So the speed of some of them bothers me so much, not just because we lost, it takes quite a bit to replace my bush and my half-a-day work to get the mailbox in order, but they are school children going on Forest Way to an elementary school. But worse is, in the morning, we have a large group of high school children waiting for their bus at the corner of Forest Crest and Forest Way. They sit on a curb, they sit on a sidewalk, because they don't want to go on the property of our neighbor. And one of these days, it's going to be a tragic thing happening there. And that's what I'm most afraid of, because we have all these kids and all that. And it is a matter of, as I said, somebody losing control, coming up forest shadow, and trying to straighten out, and they can't. And they run into our property, going on to forest shadow. So that's my question to you. What can we do? I'd be happy to offer our driveway for an unmarked car to sit You know, I mean, really.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure this is not something that doesn't happen elsewhere in Leon Valley. Yeah, it's not a one-time thing.
Correct.
Other
And
people have that same
we're
concern.
definitely, Mayor and Council, we're definitely aware of the problem. Like we explained previously, right now, or up until yesterday, we were in the process of getting the new officers up to speed, which takes away from because you got an older officer teaching them with a newer officer, and it takes away from them being able to go out and just sit out there and do that, because they have certain things they have to do. And with 4 of them at the same time, we just didn't have the manpower to put out there. As of yesterday, we started our traffic officers with the money from the red light camera. The 2 traffic officers are on board now, and we have a list, and this is on top of the list because Ms. Chasen keeps jumping my rear on it about this and wants me to park in her driveway, so I can't park in yours because Ms. Chasen said I can park in hers first. So, but we definitely know the problem there, and there's a lot. There's throughout all the communities, all the neighborhoods out in Monte Robles. They've been on me for a while, and I keep saying it's coming. And so the date is here, and the guys have yesterday we put them out for the first time, and the second one's coming in tomorrow because she'd been out for a wedding. And so we'll be up to full strength starting tomorrow with those 2, and then depending on how things go and how the money goes, we might be coming back to y'all for a third traffic officer for the red light camera. So we got you on the list, I promise. And as far as the rest of it, though, the other things could be like speed humps, which some people like, some people don't. There's a process for that. As you hear yes and no out here, there's a process for that. We can work with Melinda and her crew. You got to go and get X amount. I think it's 80% of the people, 90% of the people on the street to sign off on it, and then the humps could go out, and that definitely slows them down. But otherwise, enforcement, and possibly in the future with some of the money, the red light camera money, we'll look at flashing signs. But people know this; they know it's there. It's just going to come down to enforcement. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I can tell you, and my neighbors can tell you exactly, and I have told you, the time when most offenses happen, and that is early in the morning, from 6:30 to 7:30.
Okay,
maybe.
and Dr. Edwards has a question.
It has nothing to do with the Evers Road closing, by the way, either.
No. Okay.
It's just a matter of all the time.
It's existed for a long time.
I don't want to do anything that would alter the agenda. Just share some information. There's also an issue at the corner of Forest Bend and Forest Way, and guess who lives there? But we see a lot of people running the stop signs there and going really fast.
Absolutely.
So.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Do appreciate it. Anyone else like to? Yes, sir. Good evening and welcome. If you'll state your name and where you live.
Here he is.
Not your specific address, just the city you live in.
My name is Will Bradshaw. I live in Leon Valley.
Will Bradshaw. Thank you.
First, I just wanted to say thank you to the chief and the officers that got the awards today.
Yeah.
Congratulations and thank you for your service. And I just had a question real quick. We talked about the revenue that the red light cameras are bringing in. Was there a study done, like engineering study of the traffic before the cameras were put in?
Yes.
And is there any reporting on have the cameras eliminated or reduced the accidents and things like that?
Wow. Yeah. Ms. Kinsler, she's got that information.
So a traffic engineering study is required if you're going to have red light cameras by a Texas certified engineer. So we had to do that. So they were absolutely done.
Right.
And as you know, are there studies done? Absolutely, all across the nation. So, I mean, pick your study, but yeah, there's lots of studies done. So if you want to ask about one particular study.
No, I just wondered, so I guess what I'd like to see instead of, I mean, it's fine to report the revenue because that's what we were talking about, the budget, but I'd kind of like to see what are the statistics of, traffic accidents and what improvements have the cameras made.
Right. I know.
I'll tell you.
I know Chief's got some current statistics, and he's also sent us pictures of people running red light. Pure red. I mean, it's scary out there. It's pretty bad. Okay. Yeah. And I'm surprised we haven't had more, just T-bone people killed. I really am. After you sent those pictures.
And we're putting those on the website as well, so anybody can see them. But it's a great question. As part of the state law with DPS, one, we had to do a study previous, and so we knew the numbers going in. Then we have to do a study now, and we're working on the numbers now of the 6 months prior to the cameras going in.
Right.
And then we have to do a study 6 months, or it's actually, I'm sorry, 18 months prior to the cameras going in, and the 6 months after they've been here. And then we have to do it annually as well. So those numbers will be coming out. I've got my guys working on those numbers now, because we're only a month into this, really 6 weeks into this. And so, but we need to get ready for that 6-month report that's going to go. And then all of those things are on the website for DPS under, I think it's under Texas Red Light Camera. But you can go, any city that has them, their reports are on there, and ours will be on there as soon as we file ours within that 6-month period. So, and we'll come and brief everybody here, because I can tell you this. I'm not the guy out there answering the calls for accidents, but I can tell you from my officers and from the firemen back there that go to the EMS calls, it is reduced drastically. Drastically. It's completely different. And so the same thing that she was talking about, wherever she went, about, the morning problem. Well, those were the, where Rita, Ms. Burnside, those were the same times of the accidents, the same times that those problems are, because that's the peak hours. And so all our guys were stuck on these accident calls, and they couldn't get into the neighborhoods because there's nobody left. So by resolving the accident aspect, it's also going to allow us, not even with just the traffic officers, but the regular officers to get into the neighborhoods as well. So great question. I promise you we're going to be very transparent. We're going to hang that on our website, and we'll come back to you all and talk about it.
Okay, and just wanted to clarify, we had to do a study 18 months prior to February when we
No, I have to go
started
back
in-
now and pull the data for 18 months prior. It wasn't a requirement to get the light cameras in.
Right.
I have to go now and report
18
back
months
18
back.
months back.
And then 6 months after.
Correct.
And then annually
And
from
annually
there
after
out.
that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And I believe the wording was 18 months prior to the installation of the first camera.
Okay,
Correct.
all right.
Correct.
That sounds good. Yes.
The number of tickets that have been issued?
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you if you'd report
So,
that.
okay. The number of tickets is kind of nebulous here, because I'm going to actually tell you two different things. You have number of incidents. That's the first thing. Number of incidents are how many actual red light flashes occurred. Some of those things get thrown out. We have about 11% reduction or rate of being thrown out, a rejection rate. Thank you. And because it takes so long to get to us, the last time I looked for the month of March, which was the first full month that they had been in, and y'all are going to go, oh, there were 8,000 incidents. 8,000. Of that, we had received, as of last week, and I didn't, today was my first day back, so I don't have the numbers. We had issued about 3,300 citations with 4,000 that had not received yet. So when you see the numbers starting to go up in the revenue, it's because now the ticket numbers are starting to go up. And because of that lag in citations, it's when you ask how many citations, well, it was only 3,300 as of last week. If you ask me next week, it's going to be, for the month of March, could be 6,000. But we're not reaching it until, 16 days into April. So hopefully after tomorrow, maybe, when they reach April ticket, then I can tell you exactly how many were written in the month of March. I can tell you how many incidents there were, but I can't tell you how many were written yet, because we're still approving them at this point.
Okay, and then out of the 3,300 citations, how many were Leon Valley Heights?
So I can't tell you that number, but I'll get it for you, ma'am. I do know that when we were at about 1,800, it was only 4.
Okay.
At about 1,800, and they haven't given it to me, but I'll get you that tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
just-
Yes, sir.
Can I just interrupt? I'm sorry, we're off the agenda.
Yes, I know.
This,
Oh, this was a question that was answered, asked and answered, so, okay. Doggone, this was a very interesting discussion,
Just
too.
one quick question.
Yeah.
Have you noticed, or is there any data suggest that the number of cars going up and down Bandera has dropped because of red light cameras?
No, I can't say that number. I almost want to say I wish it would, but no, I haven't. We have not seen that. What we've seen is it's more orderly. It flows better because the accidents aren't there, and so that really slows them down. So we believe that. We have had people call us and say, that it is flowing better, and they appreciate that.
Thank you, Chief.
Very good, thank you. All right, so we'll move on to the next citizen. Thank you for all those great questions, though, on the red light cameras. Any other citizens to be heard? All right, seeing no one else, then we will move to the consent agenda. No, excuse me, announcements by the mayor and council members. So, Councilor Edwards, do you have any announcements this evening?
Yes, I just wanted to also agree with the city manager. It's a sad thing about Barbara Bush passing on, so I wanted to agree with that. Also, I wanted to agree with the issue about, or just say it's great that Councilman Sandoval from the city of San Antonio is also working with us on the issue of the boulevard concept and trying to do something about the traffic on Bandera Road. So just wanted to say those things. Thank you. And thanks to all the citizens for coming out tonight.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Councilor Alcacer?
And one of the members of the audience today reminded me of mentioning to have people stop talking trash and pick it up in the neighborhoods. But
That's pretty
the
good.
important thing to me that happened this week, once I got outside the small realm, was the hummingbirds are back and so are the fireflies. So take some time to get out, especially in any time in the day for the hummingbirds, but the evening time, it was lit up completely last night. So just take a walk in the early evening and you'll see them everywhere. Get out of your house and walk. Thanks. Be kind to one another.
But Ms. Alcacer, you have more of a natural setting at your house. I don't know if I have them in my backyard. Rita, have you seen any fireflies in our neighborhood? I haven't either. So.
You have to get out and walk. They're in the fields.
Okay.
They're in
so
the creek.
they're not in the neighborhood. They've got to go to the natural
so
areas.
just
Okay.
Come and
Very
walk
good.
around our neighborhood. You'll see them.
Wonderful. Councilor Martinez.
Thank you, everybody, for coming, and I want to let everybody know tomorrow at lunch, 11:30, the Leon Valley Area Chamber of Commerce is having their silent auction and luncheon. It's going to be at the YMCA at O.P. Schnabel Park. And also Dr. Brian Woods, NISD superintendent, will be there and talking about their bond election. So come and join us. There's going to be a lot. I understand there's a lot of really neat things that you can bid on in the silent auction. But come on, join us tomorrow for lunch, 11:30 to 1 o'clock.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Councilor Jordan.
Yes, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and cross your fingers for the Spurs. We need some help.
I don't know. There. Councilor Ely.
I wanted to remind everybody that Fiesta's coming up. Fiesta's coming up this weekend already, and it'll be on for the next couple of weeks. So take our walk and roll pledge seriously. Let Chief know that you've taken alternative transportation to Fiesta. Get us some points and do yourself some justice and save us some clean air and do the right thing. Enjoy yourselves, but do it responsibly. That's a very important thing. We're San Antonio. We do know how to party, and we do it very well all year round. But this is a special time. Fiesta is a special time. The other thing I wanted to remind everybody is that this coming Saturday, we're also going to be having our Leon Valley Raw Vegan Vegetarian Society meeting at the fire station. It's a potluck, and we're going to have a special cooking demo, a lot of good food being cooked up. Please come and share. Enjoy the goodness there, and good vibes, good food. Get some good tips on how to keep healthy. Hope everybody can come by. And if you can, tomorrow is our voters forum for people that need explanations or have questions about our upcoming election. Any questions you may have for your new members, possible new council members, and possibly even the mayor, please come by the forum and bring your questions, and hopefully you'll get some good answers, and you'll know how to vote. And thank you very much for coming tonight.
All righty, very good, thank you. Just a few things. Thank you all for coming as well. Just to follow up with Dr. Edwards and with City Manager Kinsler, we finally, since the town hall meeting, I don't know how many people went to the town hall meeting, but we did discuss Bandera Road. We had the study from UTSA that gave the alternative of a boulevard, and so we've garnered support from Councilor Sandoval, State Representative Justin Rodriguez, and of course our city, and we finally have got the first meeting set for next Tuesday, the 24th at 1 o'clock, and I am so excited to begin this process. So, yes.
I think that's exactly right, and I just wanted, I was really excited because of all the developers I meet with. The question always is, what's going to happen with Bandera Road? I met with the developer last week, was able to give them the study, got an email back the same day. It's never happened before. So that study is already benefiting us greatly, and I think they're going to buy the property. So it's really moving in the right direction.
Right, so we have the study from UTSA, but we also have our citizen input that we're going to go into this meeting with. And Councilor Sandoval is on board. She represents the rest of the corridor. And we are, she and I are both on the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is a funding for street projects. And so we are hoping to garner some money through that organization as well to engineer.
Also the mayor.
The mayor?
Be on the board?
No, he's not on the board anymore. He used to be on the board, but he's not on the board anymore. So anyway, so yes, you sure do.
I don't remember hearing, but the Homestead Under the Stars is this Saturday as well. The Huebner Onions Homestead fundraiser is this Saturday. Starts at 6:30, I believe. And food, fun, music. Come on down, enjoy, and help support the homestead.
Okay, very
So,
good.
Don't
Great.
forget.
I think it's $35 per person.
35 persons.
Right. So before we move on, I do want to ask y'all to please join me. We had 2 birthdays in March, 2 counselors. It's Counselor Martinez and Counselor Jordan, and we forgot to give them the cakes last time. So we've got cakes again for them this time. So if you'll please join me in singing happy birthday and congratulations to Counselor Jordan and Counselor Martinez on their turning another, going around the, anyway, you know, adding another year to their lives. And I believe, Counselor Jordan, we're not going to say what your big number is, but you want to tell them, everybody? I couldn't believe it. I said, what? You're how old? You don't even look that old. So anyway, it's a compliment. Now everybody's going to wonder, how old is he?
I just got my AARP card.
There you go. Anyway.
So I'm 50.
Yeah. So, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Counselor John. Happy birthday to you. And many more. It's March 30th and March 28th. Wow. Very good. I hope you all had a great celebration and wish you a happy, healthy year ahead. So thank you for your service as well. Okay. So then moving to the consent agenda items number 6.1 and 6.2. Is there any of the counselors that would like to remove one of those consent agenda items for discussion? Seeing no one, may I please have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Counselor Alcacer and a second by Counselor Jordan to approve consent agenda item number 6.1 and 6.2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to 7 ordinances. This is where some of you may not be here, but now that I have been here prior, we have a new procedure to implement because of the home rule status. And we have 2 readings to pass an ordinance, and number 7 is the second ordinance reading. And so, Ms. Pasolé, if you'll please read 7.1. please.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley City Council authorizing the expenditure of economic and community development funds in the amount of $32,500 to provide funding for the Leon Valley 2018 July 4th event, authorizing a budget adjustment in the amount of $32,500 to the fiscal year 2017-2018 economic and community development project funding line item, providing for a repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Ms. Pasolé, that was your agenda item. Do you have anything else to report?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay, very good. And so what is the pleasure of the council on ordinance number 7.1? Okay, yes. We also would like to hear from our residents. So if anyone would like to give input on any of the agenda items, especially 7.1, 2, 3, and then on, please come forward. Mr. Stanley, would you like to address the council at this time? Please come forward, and you have 3 minutes to give your input. Thank you, sir.
Don Stanley, Leon Valley.
Mhm.
Guess I don't have to give my address. I didn't know that. Okay.
Right.
Last week I thought we were told that we would hear what the budget was or how much was spent previous years, or there was going to be some enlargement on that. Did I mishear? I was here last meeting.
Ms. Pasolé, to be honest with you, I thought we just had the budget for this coming year, but do you have those numbers from last year?
I do.
Good.
Well, you had asked yesterday, you had asked last meeting how much we had received in sponsorship last year.
Yes.
So I did bring that, and that was $44,500. Again, today, I still have just the $2,500. I am hearing from a lot of people that I approached that they're just not going to be able to do it this year. I don't know. Can't give you an answer on that, but I did call everybody on Monday to follow up, and it's either still pending somebody above them, or I can't give you an answer, but the ones that I have received a definitive answer, it was because they're just not doing it this year.
So these are all the prior sponsors
Mhm.
will not commit to this
I've heard it
this
from
year.
a few vendors and potential sponsors.
Okay, all right.
And how much did EDC give last year?
10,000. I'm sorry, 20,000.
20,000, okay.
And to answer your question, last year the entire event was 120,000.
Was that all funded by?
I'm sorry. Can you say
Okay.
that?
Was that all funded contributions from businesses? No. Except for the 20,000?
No, sir, Mr. Stanley and council, that was 44,500 was from sponsors, from businesses,
Okay, and the rest came from what source?
from the general fund and from, EDC was part of this, 44,000.
Well, I still have a problem with EDC.
So actually 24,000 came from businesses and 20,000 came from the EDC.
Correct.
Excuse Was some of the revenue made up by sales to vendors?
Yes, sir. Let's see. This is not my worksheet, so I'm going to tell you. 46,000 was budgeted. I'm sorry, I must have printed the other one. Here you go. 59,000 was recovered in revenue.
And another question I have is this new activity, the race at
Soapbox Derby.
Is that going to generate revenue, or
Not this year, but
there's no?
more than likely, eventually, yes, it's going to be. I don't think that you're going to see revenue from it this year, but this is the inaugural year for. So next year, we've talked. Chief and I have talked about next year possibly having an entry fee.
Okay.
So one of the,
Okay.
I'm sorry, one of the challenges we have is to get the cars. The cars like this are about $1,000. So once the cars are purchased, then
you've got them.
Everybody, all the businesses owners are already stating that they're willing to pay an entry fee next year to support the event or a nonprofit fund of some sort. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And so what is our total budget then for this year?
With the overtime that's budgeted, it's 65,575.
Okay, so we've reduced it from last year to this year?
Last year, we were over budget.
Right. And we've
So-
restructured the day, hopefully saving money because of that.
Right.
Okay, we're not paying as many,
You don't have that many,
yeah.
you don't have as many entertainers.
That's
That's
right.
for sure. We're down to 3 because they're each going to play for an hour and a half. Whereas last year you had 4 of them that were playing, doing some sort of something, whether it was clogging or yodeling or whatever, for 30 minutes.
Right. From 12 to 10
Correct.
p.m., and now it's 5 to
Right.
10 p.m.
Right.
So,
I did add a few more carnival rides, though, to put more rides and the dunking booth, things like that. And so those things are all in and ordered.
And that will be revenue generated as well, right?
With wristbands.
With
Correct.
wristbands, okay.
Right.
Okay, I have a question also regarding revenue. You said we got 59,000 in revenue, and then in addition to that, 44,000 in donations, including the 20 from the EDC?
Correct.
So of the 120,000, that makes 103,000 covered by either donations or revenue.
Correct. According
So-
to the report from the recap from last year, yes.
Okay, so there's a chance, what if this item 1 were reduced from the 32.5 to 20,000 in hopes of getting it the other way like you're trying to do? Because the cost shouldn't be as high either with less time consumed.
That's entirely up to the council.
But you don't anticipate the cost being as high as last year, do you?
I've never done this, so I don't know what to expect, honestly. And when I'm hearing people say, we're just not going to do it this year, I don't know what that means, what's going on, but.
So who's saying that?
I don't want to say.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, you said all of the sponsors from last year, right?
No, not all of them are saying that.
Not
no.
all of them?
No, some of them are still pending.
Oh, they're pending, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought, but you
But
have
that's
contacted them all.
That's because they all bought these cars.
Yeah, that's right.
I know, Chief beat
Right.
me.
He took away your revenue.
I know.
Oh, he's going,
No.
okay.
No, the one that I did here was not going to do it is not in the soapbox derby. And then the vendor that I heard didn't want to do it. We really need him. I'm not going to say why because I don't want to say that, but I'm going to because they have an exclusive.
The what? Oh, is that,
Dear.
I'm sorry. Okay.
So I'm discussing that. He didn't think that the fees were appropriate when he's going to have 3 booths. I just spoke to him this afternoon, and I'm going to discuss that and try to work something out because we want to keep the vendors that have been with us for a while.
Sure.
And that one actually pays the city back 50% of his sales, so we want that one for sure.
Okay.
So
Councilor Martin.
what I was trying to get to, I'm not sure you understood my question, is if we reduce the 32.5 to the 20,000 like we had last year, is that going to be a problem now?
Well, it's going to make me a little sad, but I will, it was more than I expected in the first place, so we're going to make do with what you give me.
Okay. Councilor Martinez.
Are we going to have any food vendors for the soapbox derby?
Yes.
Where are they going to be set up? Just
I
on the
will
road?
let you know that at a further meeting. Once we're still in the planning, but yes, there will be food carts.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
So
that
we'll
would-
get money from, or a little bit of revenue from them,
Okay.
right? Well, we're not.
You're ahead of me. I don't know if we do because we don't have a cart entry in our vendor application. So that's
Okay.
just something that the committee and I are discussing.
Will they sell the food? Will you collect, will you get something from the sales of food from the cards?
That's a Vicky question. She's gone. Ashley and Vicky have talked to me about it, but they handle all that part of it somehow. I'm sorry, I can't tell you that.
Mayor, Councilor Edwards, there's been discussion of that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, yes, Counselor Jordan.
So did you say there's 2,500 raised so far by sponsors?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
All right, thank you.
All right, so I know. No.
I'm sorry, one more follow-up.
Yes.
So if the money, of course, is 32.5 is already allocated, and of course, if we don't use that money, you can always go back to
Right.
the fund
To
as far as the budget.
either economic development or special events I mean, you still have, bless you, you still have your Christmas lighting this year and a fall event possibly, so I don't know if that can roll over. I don't.
But Mayor, Councilor Jordan, to answer your question, the answer is yes. It would go back into the ED funds if it were not spent on the 4th of July, unless it was brought back before this council.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And on the flip side, if we adjusted it down and we were short, then we'd have to go back to the general fund to cover the overage. So, I mean, it's doesn't really matter. I mean, except for one is general fund and one is, I don't know, ED, right? ED, economic development. So it's just where you allocate the money.
She's ready to speak.
Yes, come, please, Barbara, to the podium and state your name and where you live. Good evening and welcome.
Barbara Briscoe, I live in Leon Valley.
Yes, ma'am.
And I guess I misread this agenda. I thought that there was a budget adjustment.
No,
So is
ma'am.
this just, well, that's what it says, so that's why I thought that. So I didn't know, so from what you just said, it's already allocated for that or already done that?
Well, I guess it's terminology.
See, I mean, that's why when it says authorizing the budget adjustment in the amount of $32,500, so what I didn't know, and I'm an accountant, I haven't done funding accounting in many years, but a little old knowledge, is if you're adjusting it, then you're moving it from here to there, and I didn't know if there was other money, then I hear them talking about $120,000 last year and $32,000 this year, that big of a drop, that's just like not realistic. And I think because I think it's not realistic to think you're going to drop $90,000, and then it's going to come out of my pocket or my collective pocket. I'm against spending that much money on fun. I don't spend that percentage of money on myself for fun, so I don't want to spend it for behalf of everybody else. I generally don't attend these because I'm generally not in town, but I think it's a lot of money, and I think it's unrealistic to expect something that cost $120,000 last year to only cost $32,000 this year. That just sounds.
No, it's
Okay, it is a budget adjustment because it's going to be taken from ED's money to.
Reallocated.
Correct.
Right.
And the event is not 32,000. The event, there's a general fund amount budgeted as well of $65,275 or $575.
So it's already at about $95,000 then.
Correct. And that's before the sponsor funds come in.
And then how much other money, and and you said you're new to this, so I'm not trying to pin you. How much other money is spent on fun, and what does that do for the city? Personally, of course, I would rather see that money pay down the well so that my water can go back to a reasonable rate. That would make me happier than paying $75 or $85 during the summer when I have to water my foundation because I have a bad foundation I can't afford to fix. I have to do it or I can't get in and out of my house. So, if it's going to be reallocated, I'd like to see it reallocated to the well and reduce the consumers. And I think a lot of the people in Leon Valley would rather have lower water bills than go to a party a couple times a year. I mean, to me, that's how I spend my money personally.
Yeah, I understand. There is a restriction, though, and I'd like Ms. Kinsler to address that on the ED money.
Certainly, Mayor, Council, ma'am. So the ED money has to be used for two purposes, which was voted on by the voters of Leon Valley last November, and that's either an economic development project, which this is, and that because it brings people into Leon Valley, or community development project, such as sidewalks is a good example.
Okay.
The budgeting and funding process, and so how did so much get put into
Yeah.
there if you didn't anticipate spending it there?
Yeah. Ms. Briscoe, if you
Mayor.
want to continue to talk, which we'd love to hear, we just need to come to the podium because we're recording the meeting. Thank you.
So the rest of the answer is, what happens is a committee that the council appointed actually vets these projects before they come to the city council, and they oversee the economic and community development funds. And it was this committee that actually asked Sandra to bring their recommendation of $32,500 out of those funds for this particular event. So to answer the second part, well, three parts. The second part of your question is, I want to make sure you clearly understood, this event did not go from 100 and something to $32,500. There's general fund money, economic development money, and private sponsors that will fund this event. So the budget will be almost the same or close to. And then finally, what was your last question? Just had it in my mind. Oh, excuse me?
About the water.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So the water, Melinda Moritz and I have actually been involved with a representative from, she's a consultant who did the initial water rates, and we've asked her to look at the water rates again to reanalyze them, because we believe that they're skewed a little bit, that the commercial side could actually take a little more than the residential side. And the council is in support of us doing this, and we're just waiting for those results. So that's a completely different subject right now that we are revisiting and attempting to look at. But then your last question was about what other fun items might be supported. The big kahuna here is the 4th of July Festival. That's the main one that we do. We put a little bit of money into Grandparents' Day and into a winter festival, and we do the Christmas tree lighting, but that's about it. So this is the one. I hope that answers all of your questions.
Very good. Mr. Martinez? Oh, and Mr. Prophet would like to. Mr. Prophet, come on up. You sure? Okay. Mr. Martinez.
One of the things that hasn't been mentioned tonight is this event, 4th of July event, brings about 25,000 people to Leon Valley. It's widely known around San Antonio that if you want to see a fireworks show, come to Leon Valley. And with people coming here, they're going to want to eat. You know, our restaurants are going to be filled up. You know, Dairy Queen's going to be bombarded with people, and you know that's an economic development or an economic windfall for the city. So it is a good event for the city. It brings a lot of people to our city and city recognition. Also, you mentioned the water rate. SAWS just had, I believe, a 6%. Or 5.8 or something like that, almost 6% increase in their water rates. So right now, SAWS, if you're on SAWS, you're going to pay more for your water than you are in Leon Valley.
Okay, so that's off topic. We're back on 4th of July and the budget there. So thank you. Thank you for that comment. Yes. So what's the pleasure of the council? Yes.
I want to say one and part of the expenses, as I understand it, would be covered by revenue from people buying refreshments and buying the bands for kids to ride the rides and so forth.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay. So. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Come on up, Ms. Sanchez. Good evening and welcome. We're glad you're here.
My name is Mariana Sanchez. I live in Leon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to thank you, Sandra, for all your work. I know this is a huge project and it's a lot to handle, but thank you for everything that you do putting on this celebration for the 4th of July.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. Prophet, did you have anything else to say? Okay, so then if there's no other input from the citizens here, what is the pleasure of the councilor since this is our second reading?
I would like to move that we reduce the amount to $20,000 and keep $12,500 in reserve, that if it is necessary that to be used because there's no other means of revenue, that the committee can use it without coming back to council, but to count on $20,000 to be transferred after this ordinance is passed.
Mayor, Councilor Alcacer, that's tough. So what we would do is we would do a budget adjustment for 20,000 now, and then we would have to come back to council for a separate budget adjustment. We just can't transfer part of it in a budget adjustment.
Okay, well, that's
So
hoping
if you
was
would
trying
maybe
to-
want to rephrase your motion.
Okay.
I see what you were trying to do, but we can't.
But I still wanted to reserve the funds to come back for the 12,500.
Mayor, Councilor Alcacer, what you would have to do is we would just have to do it as a new item.
Is there no other way, Denise?
Can't earmark it.
Could we say something like the EDC would be credited with any money that we did not spend on the event?
That's going to happen. With the budget adjustment, if you don't spend the same amount, it automatically reverts, go right back to the
But I
ED.
meant specifically to the ED versus general fund.
So the way you have it set up now is 50% for each, and this was part of the ED, so.
All right. Okay.
So I'll try it again to, excuse me, I have a
Oh, you would-
question. I don't,
Hi. I don't know if it'll help, but just so you're aware, when the Economic and Community Development did grant that amount, they wanted a specific portion of that to be used for the military appreciation deal. And then at the last meeting, somebody did say, could it be, maybe Councilor Alcacer, could it be used for the fireworks? Just so you know, the fireworks, that's $17,000. So I'm just throwing that number out there.
but wasn't your answer no on that?
No, ma'am, I am not saying no. I'm saying, yes, we will use part of it for the fireworks, but just to kind of give you an idea of the price, the cost for most of this, the rides alone is $20,000, fireworks are $17,000. So it is expensive, but I just wanted to let you know.
Well, except then I have another question, because if we made the revenue from last year, I mean, why add more rides if we have to pay more money if they're not going to pay for themselves?
Because I go big. I don't know, just because we're trying to put more rides. I think there were some complaints last year that there were only rides for bigger kids and not enough for little kids, so trying to balance it out.
Mayor, point of order. We have a motion on the table, and unless we have to have a second before we have any further discussion.
We're trying to get a clarification, sir.
Did you want to restate your motion?
Yes, ma'am, I had one question. If we state it where it's the 20,000 and, but that it doesn't have to go back to EDC to have a second budget adjustment, it can just be done through council if needed, or I just don't want the money spent because it's there. That's what I'm trying to do. Is there a way to help with that?
Yeah, I think so. Would you like to withdraw your motion so we can do this
Yes,
correctly?
yes, I
Okay.
will.
Okay. Suggestion, if that's what you're trying to accomplish, is to go ahead and approve the $32,500 that the ED, Economic Development and Community Development Group sent forth. However, asking staff to attempt to limit those expenditures to $20,000 if they can. That way staff has the latitude, and the $32,500 budget adjustment is done tonight, but asking the staff to attempt to keep it at the $20,000.
I so move.
That would work.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Edwards to approve the $32,500 amount designated from the EDCD fund, with the stipulation to staff to try to keep it at $20,000. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Kunstler, for that help. Okay, moving then to ordinance number 7.2. Ms. Pasolay, would you please read the ordinance?
An ordinance authorizing a budget adjustment from the general fund reserve in the amount of $1,246,101 for the purpose of fully funding the construction of the Evers Road Hebner Creek Bridge, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for effective date.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Moritz, that was your agenda item last meeting. Is there any update to the ordinance? Okay, thank you. Any update to when the bridge should be completed? Is it still on for before July 4th?
Remember, we'd said they were going to try before July 4th. That
Okay.
July 6th is what they're saying. But the water and sewer mains should be in this week by Thursday.
Okay.
And once that occurs, then they can start constructing the 10-by-6 box culverts, and that's when they're going to make up time on the project. So he's going to put on people on Saturdays and hopefully get this moving faster.
Okay.
Of course, it's supposed to rain this weekend.
Weather permitting.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
we know that. Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Moritz on this particular agenda item? All right, and what's the pleasure of the council?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Edwards and a second by Councilor Jordan to approve the budget adjustment from the general fund reserve for the Evers Road Bridge as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to ordinance number 7.3. Ms. Pasolay, if you'll please read it.
An ordinance amending the City of Leon Valley Code of Ordinances, Chapter 4, Business Regulations by adding Article 4.10, game room establishments, and adding Appendix A, fee schedule, Article A 17.000, miscellaneous fees, Section A 17.005, permitting fee, providing for a penalty, providing for repealing severability and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you very much. And Chief, you were going to run this by the Citizens Police Advisory Committee from the last meeting?
Yes, ma'am. We did
Would
that
you
on the
please
11th.
that report?
Unanimously approved that with some very, very minor changes.
Okay.
And we made the changes mostly grammatical or all grammatical.
Okay.
And so nothing really changed of substance. And so very, very for it. And I'll tell you, the comments we got was they were very happy to see Leon Valley being proactive instead of reactive before this thing got out of hand. So
Okay,
that
very
was the only
good. Thank you
comments.
very much for that update. Do appreciate it. So what is the pleasure of the council on this particular agenda item?
I make a motion, we approve this agenda item
Okay.
as stated.
All right. We have a motion by Councilor Jordan and a second by Councilor Martinez to approve agenda item number 7.3 as presented regarding the game room. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to the regular agenda item number 1, 8.1, presentation of Spring Oak Leaf Collection Program for the City of Leon Valley. And Ms. Mort, you're not David Demeline, but we'll take ya. No.
David's in school.
Is he really? Okay, very
Going
good.
to Public Works School in Hurst, Texas, so
I
he'll
didn't
be
know
there
that.
till Friday.
Well,
so.
wonderful. Okay, well, thank you.
I told him I'd take on the leaves.
Okay, very good. Take on the leaves.
So City Council directed staff to develop options for Leon Valley residents to dispose of their live oak leaves during the spring season. And this program will provide 2 options, there may be more, you may have a better idea, to help them get rid of these leaves. As you know, we hold our spring large item pickup session at the very end of February in order to mitigate oak wilt. Because you're not supposed to trim your oak trees after March. And so what happens is the leaves don't fall off till mid-March, and then it's a huge pile and everybody wants to gather them up. So we have a large amount of live oaks located throughout many neighborhoods here. The Spring Oak Leaf Collection Program is proposed to assist the residents to dispose of all these excess leaves. And we had 2 options. The residents could bring their oak leaves for composting to the Public Works Department. Just outside of our gate and across from the oil igloo is our spoils pile. And they could bring them there and drop them off. And then option 2, you could ask for an additional citywide curbside pickup conducted by Tiger Sanitation. The city would coordinate the date of the week and notify the residents in advance. The oak trees don't drop their leaves the same week every year. So, the total estimated cost, if we were to have Tiger do that, would be $11,656. And there's your collection, disposal, and estimate. This is an estimate. Tiger Sanitation would charge for actual hours and the tons required to complete the project, and they're thinking it'd be about 68.75 tons. City manager approval would be required if the time and the volumes exceeded the estimate.
Melinda, can I stop you on fiscal impact?
Yes.
Oh, it's on there. Okay, I thought I had added worst case scenario in. It's on the next page. I wanted to make sure the council knew that.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
The funds that would cover this extra pickup would come from the stormwater utility budget. And the reason for that is it meets our best management practices of keeping stuff out of the creek. And so it falls right into place. Tiger Sanitation would only charge the actual hours and the actual tons required to complete the project. And as we said, city manager approval would be required if they exceeded the estimate. Tiger did give an estimate based on a worst case scenario. You know, if nobody composted, nobody recycled, and they had to pick up from everybody that bagged their leaves. We recommend implementing something because we did get a lot of complaints this year from persons who had 10 to 20 bags, and Tiger charges for extra bags over 4 that you put out. And if you've ever picked leaves up out of a yard, you know, you can't stuff that 95-gallon cart full with more than 2 or 3 bags at a time. And then I would like to pitch for getting a gigantic mulcher and sometime in the next year or so, because I would like all the leaves. The oak leaves, once they're mulched up, are so good for the trees. We could ring every tree in that park and it'd be awesome for them and keep them healthier, I think.
Would it cost less than, or would it cost about the same, $11,000?
I'll need to look into it and I will bring that back.
Okay, I mean, I think that's a win-win, really. The garden needs leaves as well. I was speaking to a resident, and he actually bought a Toro vacuum mulcher. I never had heard of that before, but he reduced his bags from 20 bags to 6 bags by this mulcher, this Toro mulcher vacuum. So it's amazing. People are finding solutions, to this problem. So,
but then you still have some where they're just adamant about, nope, they don't want them in their yard, they want them picked up, they want them out of there. So,
and they don't like them hanging out on their yard for weeks at a time because it's, it's not beautiful. Okay, yes, Councilor Edwards.
At least 2 constituents approached me when they saw this on the agenda, saying that this was discriminatory, that there are other types of trees that shed leaves, and they felt as though oaks were getting special treatment, and that there should be some accommodation made to deal with other types of trees that shed their leaves at other times of the year and are also problematic for the citizens. So I forget what kind of trees those were, but maybe the forestry expert could
shed some light on it for us.
Yes.
I think it's probably in the fall, and I don't know the type of tree either, but there's a resident on Hoofs who has a real big problem with her neighbor's leaves falling off in the fall and getting in their yard, and then they have to rake them up and dispose of them. Not very happy with that.
So could there be maybe some way to deal with that other type of tree and their foliage, or other types of trees also?
It would be the same as when we did the spring. I mean, if you wanted an extra pickup in the fall for when those trees, then it'd be, again, the worst case scenario, another $11,000 for one more additional pickup.
I get the impression that this is not as big a deal, but...
That's worst case scenario. So it'd be less tonnage if it wasn't as big of a deal.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, Councilor Edwards, Melinda, I just wanted to, with the other pickup, does it fall, do those, the leaves from the other trees you're talking about, do they fall in line with your fall pickup that you have anyway?
No, ma'am, they don't.
They
we
don't,
have our
so they're
fall
off as
pickup
well.
in the first part of September,
Right.
and those leaves start falling closer to October, November.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we have Councilor Martinez, did you have another question or comment?
Yes.
Okay, and then Councilor Jordan, and then Councilor Alcacer.
I can see there's 3 other solutions to this problem. And the first deal is, since we'll only pick up an additional 4 bags plus your container, some people are just waiting and putting 4 bags and keeping them, the rest of them at the house, and just putting 4 bags a week till they're all picked up. Other people are getting a little more creative and asking their neighbors that only put their card out that, hey, can I put 4 bags in front of your house, in front of your house? So it's getting resolved that way. The third way, and this is what I recommended at last council, is that what if we contacted Tiger and just asked them for the next 4 to 6 weeks, if someone puts out 15 bags, you guys take them. If there's going to be an additional charge, let us know, and then we can do that without having a special $11,000 pickup. And that's all I've got right now.
Mayor, Councilor Martinez, the issue with this is that it's cheaper to do it this way because they charge $2 per bag. And so the way that Melinda recommends is responsible to the environment, because if some of the residents will take them to Public Works and we get to use them as mulch, it's that many more bags we don't have to pay for, number one. Number two, you had recommended the huge haul off, like somewhere in the middle of the city for people to go take their leaves, and Public Works was adamantly opposed to that because they said, even now with the recycling things, people don't respect that. So they're not going to respect a container in the middle of town saying leaves only. That's not going to happen. And so that's why we tried to take your idea and run with it and put that bin by Public Works so that it could be monitored and watched as best they can, but then combine it with the idea of trying to be responsible to the environment and seeing, if they dropped them off, then we wouldn't have to pay anything to Tiger. We could use them for our own parks. Right. So we took the idea and kind of just went a little different direction with it. But I mean, certainly that's your decision as a policymaker. If you want a bin in the middle of town, we could try it.
No, that's why I didn't even mention it tonight.
Okay.
But I just think that if Tiger will agree for the next 4 to 6 weeks to take, if someone put 15 bags out, they'll just take them. And if there's an extra charge, $2 a bag, that's going to be a lot less than $11,000.
And that's the problem, is Tiger says it's not going to be less than $11,000. That's why they gave us the worst case scenario. And Tiger also has encouraged, so tell residents to go ahead and go to other residents who don't have 4 bags and leave their bag. They're fine with that. They're fine with residents being creative like that. It's just they have instructions to their drivers, and we're trying to get the rules established here, but they're fine with that.
The only other thing is, by now, all the drivers should know that they can pick up 4 bags, because I guess some drivers from other cities, they only pick up 2 bags, and they were only picking up 2 bags and leaving the other 2 bags.
So I definitely heard that complaint, and the one that I know about was resolved. I don't know if there's any others, but one time that did happen, and that was resolved.
Okay.
Okay. Councilor Jordan.
Yes, I was just thinking, since the leaves fall seasonal, if we could potentially re-engage Tiger on a 2 pickup per year, and then see if we can renegotiate another price on that. That was just my thoughts.
Thank you.
That's absolutely an option. We can go back to them and say, we've got this other leaf problem that's happening in October. What would that be? When they bring up $11,000 and this much tonnage, the people that I heard from the most were from the Forest Oaks neighborhood. I did not hear from Old Mill. I did not hear from Monte Robles Park. I didn't hear from other places like that. So if this is mostly confined to Forest Oaks, I seriously doubt that we're going to spend $11,000 on picking up tonnage of oak leaves. I don't see it happening. I could be wrong, but we could maybe try it next year for the first time and just see how much we actually really do pick up. And then at the same time, encourage the citizens, hey, bring your bags to us. We're going to reuse them, because I absolutely want to reuse them. And so then let's see how much it does cost, how much that pickup really is.
Right. Did we have that problem last year?
No, because Waste Management, even though it defied their contract, they'd pick up whatever you put out there.
Okay.
Any amount. And there were some people, this one resident told me that she put out 25 bags. And so,
Yeah.
that certainly wasn't in their contract.
There were a lot of homes in Forest Oaks where I live that had at least 10 to 15 to 20 bags. It was amazing.
Wow.
But, I have like 17 oak trees in my backyard, but I just let them stay there on the ground and just, mulch it. Yeah, I don't pick them up. So, but I know a lot of people don't want them. Yes,
Yeah,
Councilor
and
Alcacer.
I think I may be old-fashioned because I don't think this is a city problem. I think this is a people problem, and I think we just need to educate the citizens, let them put their bags in their trunk of their car. I mean, how many people have 99% of people have a vehicle or access to a vehicle. They can take it to the city. They can give it to their neighbors. I don't see the city paying $11,000 or $20,000 for picking up leaves. We have leaves all year from many trees, and people need to begin to do things for themselves. We're not every time there's a little problem, then the next one comes up, well, the city ought to take care of us. That we aren't in the business of babysitting trees and leaves, and people need to consider that they have a responsibility. If they don't want the tree, chop it down. I know the mayor won't like that, but I mean, and they have to have permission to it, but we probably have more trees than anybody in the city, and I've never put a bag of leaves out. And I do go and pick up other people's leaves to use as mulch when I need them, when I see them. But if they have 20 bags, it'll take them 5 weeks to put them out. Or if they give them to their neighbors, it'll take 1 week. I just think this is not the type of thing that we should even be dealing with.
Mayor, Councilor Alcacer, there's one thing I think also that got left out. Tiger is willing to distribute them all down the block if everybody will just stay to 4. But if you don't want to do that, they've also offered people that have called them, they'll pick up anything you want them to. It's $2. But they don't want to pay that $2.
$2 per bag?
$2 per bag.
Per bag.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. So that was another option that I failed to mention earlier.
Okay. All right. Who else? Anybody else? Yes. Cassie, if you'll state your name and where you live, please.
Cassie Rouse. I live in Leon Valley. I have to agree with Councilor Alcacer. I'm from a town in Montana that gets so many leaves that they literally take a snowplow down the street, make a giant pile, and suck it up with a huge mulcher a few times a week during the fall. And that costs a lot of money, but there's literally nothing you can do with those leaves. We don't have that leaf problem here. And I think you need to make friends with your neighbors. You need to figure out something like Public Works is willing to take them for free. If you don't want to pay $2, just do that. I don't think that you should be spending money on that. I mean, we have a lot of trees. We had a lot of leaves. We figured out what to do with them ourselves.
Okay. Very good. Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I had one more question for Belinda.
Oh.
Do we have a problem with leaves and mulch and stuff getting into the water system?
We have a street sweeper that sweeps the streets 6 times a year this time. And so we are regularly picking up leaves, and we keep those out. Those are hauled off as a part of our spoils pile. And so, no, there's no like major avalanche of leaves going into the creek or anything like that. This is mainly on private properties with people who have a whole bunch of oak trees. And they're used to the fact that Waste Management, once they bagged them up, because they're regular baggers, that Waste Management would come by and pick up every single bag they had, which was not in the contract with Waste Management, but they got used to that service over all those years. And we had Waste Management for 30 some odd years. I mean, it's been a long time. And that's just the way it was. So now it's changed. Tiger's new. They've told everybody you can put out 4 bags plus your cart, and that's it. Anything over that, you need to pay $2 a bag for. And that's grinding on some people.
And a lot of people will pay other people to rake up their leaves, but they don't want to pay the $2 a bag. Well, they can think about that and get over it, and pay a little bit of out of pocket once a year.
So what were you proposing to do? It's sort of gotten lost way back there.
We had two options.
Yeah,
Number
take it
one,
to
we could
Public
just
Works.
offer the people to go ahead and bring their bagged leaves to Public Works, to our spoil site, and leave them there, and then we'll grind them up and we'll spread them where we need them in the parks. They're absolutely beneficial for trees.
Okay.
Or the option two is to offer one more pickup per year. We have the spring pickup and the fall pickup already for large items, and that's typically where people will put out their couches and tree limbs, big trees that they cut down. So if we offered one more service during the springtime before, or after, after oak wilt season starts, then they could put out as many bags of leaves as they wanted, and Tiger would go around the entire town and pick up bagged leaves. And that's the one where he estimated the worst case scenario being about $11,000.
And if we did that, it would be just the same as we had this year. We didn't know about the date of the pickup, and we didn't know this, and we didn't know that, and somebody didn't get notified, and therefore I want a special pickup. It's just, I don't think that we should be in this business. I'm sorry.
Ms. Morris, I guess I'm concerned about if we have that second pickup after February, and we didn't want to have one then, would that affect the oak wilt problem? I mean, if people put out there, you're saying it's not just it's just not leaves, they could put out other stuff?
No, that is our regular large item pickup. So we have that at the end of February and then right at the beginning of September every year. And that's when people trim their trees and put those out for collection.
But what's going to prevent them from trimming their trees if we added another pickup like in March for the leaves? And they, I mean, are we going to restrict it leaves only? Is that what you're
That would
recommending?
be the plan, yes, ma'am.
Okay. But they
may or may not work.
It may or may not work is what I'm saying, yeah. And I know that's not good for if you cut the trees then because of the oak wilt. That's what I'm trying to say, and I'm not very clear tonight, but okay, very good. Yes, Mr. Martinez.
One further comment, please. I believe this year the large pickup was earlier because of the oak wilt. Normally it's towards the end of March, April.
Yes, sir.
And that's when, ideally, that's when this should have been done. But I understand it was moved forward because of the oak wilt. Maybe we should look at moving it back to end of March, April next year.
You can do that, but then you also encourage oak wilt because people will cut their oak trees, whether we tell them that they can't or not. We have an ordinance in place and it clearly states that you shouldn't, but they do it every year.
I wouldn't want to jeopardize that. That oak wilt is spreading, and we want to arrest it. Yes, Councilor Ely.
Is there any way that we could go ahead and do a program of educating our landowners and people who have trees on their property about mulching them, doing some kind of, I mean, if they're going to cut their grass, they might as well just mulch the leaves with it, and then they can rake it up and put it around their trees. I know when I lived in the hill country, that's all I had was oaks. I had to deal with them on my own. There was no collection. There was no nothing. You did what you did. Well, I did a lot of composting and recycling. So guess where my leaves went? Around my trees and wherever they were needed to retain water, to give nutrients. And I think the people here take it for granted that the leaves will be removed, but they don't know about proper composting and reuse, just like you're planning on using for the city, free mulch for the city. They don't know they can do that. They go and grab mulch from Home Depot when they've got it right there on their property. So I think that's a win-win if we teach them how to use their own materials to save us money and save them money too. We don't want to have to pay to collect it. When they've already got their own resource, they can save their own money doing their own mulching or their own
We can
composting.
certainly do an educational promotion on it. That's not a problem at all. But the complaints that we've received, they don't want to mulch. They want them gone. They want their yard to be pretty. They want that grass to be green, and they want those leaves out of there now.
But now, okay, go ahead.
Excuse me.
Counselor Edwards.
You know, I think that the people are used to having this service, and there are a lot of things that we do in the city that we don't have to do. You know, we don't have to have a 4th of July, we don't have to have a Christmas tree lighting and so on. But the people are used to this, and I think there should be some kind of transition for a couple of years with the educational program, what you should really do, and also encouraging people to, take 4 bags and put them on your neighbors if they're not using it, and also to promote the idea of taking them down to Public Works and mulch them, because that's probably the best possible option. But there's some people who are going to resist that, and they're going to jump up and down. So that's my viewpoint.
But aren't we past the problem?
Yes.
I mean, so it's not imminent, right? And so
not an issue anymore.
Could we, go forth with the educational program? We might even talk about it at the coffee and try to get people's options, or I don't know, use the clicker, But I mean, we don't have to do something right this very minute because we are past the lead.
The problem.
But the
problem
people
right now.
also got over it, Mayor. They found a solution. So let's encourage them to keep finding a solution.
That's the educational component.
Right, well, that's
the
what
educational component. And
the
that's
manager sent out a whole suggestion to everybody, and people will keep sending them suggestions, give it to them in advance. But to spend money on it, it just isn't fair to the city when it's a small problem that can be resolved through education and through, if they can call me and I'll go pick them up and take them. Gee.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
May I make a motion that this
You may.
item be,
This is an emotion one. It's just.
I'm sorry?
Yes,
it's
it is.
just,
It is.
Just a presentation.
Oh, it doesn't have action. Okay.
The council had asked staff to come back to this
Okay,
meeting
there we
with some
go.
options. Okay.
Can I make a recommendation, the options be
Sure.
that the city staff, that we do educational piece on basically every source of media that we use to inform the citizens, and maybe even inform Tiger to put something in there literature about alternatives.
Their bill.
Right.
Well, and just knowing that you can take it to Public Works, that had not been an option. So now it is. So, very good. Okay, great. Thank you. Good discussion. All right. Thank you, Melinda. Moving then to agenda item number 8.2. Ms. Pasolay, this is a first reading. Would you please read the ordinance?
An ordinance granting a variance to Chapter 3 Building Regulations, Section 3.04.015, signs exempt from permit requirements. 2, construction signs, to allow a temporary construction sign to remain in place for 3 months at the property located at 7228 Bandera Road, Leon Valley, Texas, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Ms. Novan. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
So this is a sign variance request by applicant owner Jonah Abbasi at 7228 Bandera Road. It is for a temporary construction sign to be up longer than what the code allows. And the reason he wants to put up this construction sign is because he is constructing a 6,600 shell building for a retail office, and that's what the sign would advertise. And in his design statement, he's very welcoming. He wants to bring in new business, and he's also hoping that this sign would show his availability for prospective new tenants. This is the location here at Eckert, near Eckert and Bandera Road. You might know it as the We Care building that will be coming in, 7228 Bandera Road. The variance itself is just due to the time period requested. Right now, the code only allows signs to be up 5 days prior to the beginning of construction. And the applicant is requesting up to 3 months before construction. I can read the full code as it is. in Chapter 3, 4 construction signs, 1 construction sign per construction project, provided that such sign shall not exceed the sign area allowed for a temporary sign under Section 3.04.013. It doesn't. Construction signs shall be erected no more than 5 days prior to the beginning of construction for which a valid building permit has been issued, shall be confined to the site of construction, and shall be removed within 10 days after completion or issuance of a certificate of occupancy. He does have a building permit in process right now. This is an example of what the sign will look like. The history of this block doesn't show any variances granted similar, but again, it's an empty lot. And the code does allow for a variance. In this case, it would be a request for a variance from the strict enforcement of the requirements of this article due to special conditions wherein a literal enforcement of this article would result in an unnecessary hardship, and so that the spirit of this article is observed and substantial justice is done. We can approve as is, approve with conditions, or deny. The fiscal impact was there was a $200 fee for this sign variance request. If approved, it would be the same fee as all temporary signs, $25, with a $50 deposit, which would be returned if the sign was taken down within the appropriate time, that 10 days after issuance of certificate of occupancy. For our C statement, social equity, allowing the extension of time to advertise the new center, promotes a stakeholder participation in the city and creates a positive relationship with future city endeavors. Economic development, the successful development of his property will increase sales tax revenue and promote economic development, as marketing and visibility through signage and other means plays an important role in any development. Environmental stewardship, development is following all regulations in the Sustainability Overlay Zoning District, which encourages landscaping, LED lighting, and other environmental initiatives. And that is the sign variance request.
Right. And is the applicant here this evening?
I thought I saw him, yes.
Oh, very good. Oh, excuse me. Good evening and welcome. Yes, sir, Mr. Obasi, would you like to add anything to what Ms. Novan has said? And welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank
Yes.
you, Council people. She has said everything that that we're requesting. You have seen the building, and it's going to bring economic development to the city of Leon Valley. I don't live in Leon Valley, but I go to church in Leon Valley. Beto, we saw you 2 weeks ago. And I drive through this city to go to work every day, so I'm part of this city. And I'm really looking forward to being there to develop the property.
Okay, so this is part of advertising. This
Yes.
building is going to come, and you want people to call you
Yes.
because of the sign.
Yeah, that's my number right there.
Right. And so are there other things that you're doing as well to get tenants in your building?
Once we put that up, once they call, we can show them what we have.
Okay,
and they
so
can-
that's
they
your
can make
primary,
Yes.
primary advertising?
Yes.
Okay. All right, very good. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. And do you have any tenants lined up yet? You don't? You have one, okay. And what type of business is that?
Well, they're still deciding what they're going to do.
Oh,
And
okay.
we told them before you do anything, you need to get permit.
Oh,
Find
yes.
out if you can be allowed to do that in the space.
Okay. So at least you have one prospect is what you're
yes.
saying. Very good, thank you. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Obashi? Yes, Councilor Jordan?
Just a timeline for construction when the facility
Well, the only
will be
thing that's holding us
completed.
is the permit.
Is the permit?
And there's the problem, Melinda, knows, city manager knows about us, and that's once we get the permit, we start. The plans are in with the city, and once we get the permit, we get going within a month.
Right, but how long, when do you anticipate, if you have approval, when you have approval from
What-
breaking ground to the opening of the facility?
Once we get the permit, within a month we will start because we're ready to get going. The only thing holding us is the permit, and we've turned it into the city. The only problem they have is because there's no sewage right there, so they're going back and forth on how we're going to bring sewage. So they're putting comments in and they're sending it to the architect, and the architect is applying them to see how we can do that so we can get the sewage. That's what's holding the plan, making
Okay.
it longer.
Will it take 6 months to build a building or a year?
About 4 or 5 months.
Okay, thank you.
The Obasis have been wonderful to work with. They're so easy to work with.
That's great. And we have to have 2 readings, Mr. Obasi, so this won't be approved. If the council approves it tonight, will not be actually finalized until the next council meeting.
No
You understood
problem.
that, right?
Thank
Okay,
you,
very
Mayor.
good.
Thank
Yes.
you.
So, sir,
Counselor.
you're going to build it no matter what? Isn't that correct?
If you don't let me, I won't build it.
Well, no,
no,
if
what
you
you're
don't get
asking
the
for is
permit.
just the permit,
We're not
yeah.
here about the permit. I'm just saying you're going to do that. Why would you need it 3 months ahead of time when you can, if it's going to take 5 or 6 months to build, most people get interested once they see building, not just because the sign's there, because it may never come.
It will come.
Well, I know, I'm just saying.
Once, if we put up the sign, they will call us. We want them to pick what area, because there will be 6 units there. So we want them to pick what unit they want ahead of time. I've seen it done in other places. That's why we want to do it, so that we can sign the lease, everything already leased before even we start.
Right, but you have plenty of time if you put it up, say, when you got the permit.
It helps a lot if we have it ahead of time, and it helps quite a bit if we have it ahead of time.
You've done this
yes,
before?
Okay, so
yes, I've
personal
done it
knowledge.
at 3603 Fredericksburg Road. We own the property there. It's called We Care Plaza, and that's what we did there. Once we finished it, we rented half of it, and there were 40 units.
And how much time before did you get the construction sign?
We put the sign, and it took us a year to finish. We put up the sign right at the beginning.
Right when you began construction?
We began construction.
So why can't you do that here then?
It took a year to build, and we put the sign right when we started construction. So that sign was there for over a year while we were building.
Right, well, that you're allowed to have it while you're building. So I don't understand why you need it.
5 days, just 5 days.
5 days and
That's it.
nothing else?
5 days.
And he's asking for 90 days.
And
Yes.
I'm assuming, Mr. Obasi, you're not going to put this sign up until you break ground. Am I correct?
I want to put it up.
You want to put it up before you even break ground?
So I break the ground, because the only thing holding us is that plan. Once we get the plan, we're
Correct.
starting right
That's
away.
right, yeah.
And once it starts, it comes down?
Once it
He's
starts
asking
after
for 90
completion.
days.
For 90 days.
Mhm.
Oh, I thought that was 90 days prior to the beginning. That was what I read, I thought.
It is?
Yeah, 90 days prior to the beginning. It could be less if we get the plan approved. It could be less if we get the plan approved.
Mayor and council, the way the code reads is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Melinda, is that the construction sign is supposed to be up only 5 days before construction starts. And so my understanding of the variance is such that he wants the construction sign up 3 months before the start of construction, and that's what he's asking for a variance from the code for. At least that's what I wrote in the ordinance.
So once you break ground, then that sign comes down.
The reason why I put the sign still
Stays up?
stays till we finish. The reason I asked for 90 days.
Well, I needed that clarification.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Mayor and council, the sign stays up throughout construction.
Oh, okay.
He's
So
just
he wants
asking for
90
3
days
months
extras.
prior
I got
to,
you. Oh, wow.
and then he has to take the sign down 10 days after receiving the certificate of occupancy.
Well, if it takes 5 months to construct the facility, and the sign is up for the entire period, that's 5 months, and then you back that up another 3 months, so you're technically talking about your sign for advertising being up from 8 to 9 months. Is that right?
That's right. But like I said, if we get the permit tomorrow, we can start that. Then that sign wouldn't be there 90 days. It will be less. We were just asking that because of the time that is taken because of the permit and the sewage issue. That's why we asked for 90 days. It could be much less.
Yeah, but you can't well, correct me if I'm wrong, but can you build a facility in 90 days? Because it's going to be up the entire time it's being constructed, correct?
The 90 days is before construction
Or-
starts. That's what we
Right.
estimate.
Right, just clarify.
Right. But from what your statement, my understanding was it could be less than 90 days that the sign will be up. So if you get approved tomorrow and you start construction tomorrow, and then
In
your
four-
sign goes
in-
up,
In 4 months, if we're done and we get certificate of occupancy, the sign comes down.
If he gets the building permit tomorrow, he can start construction the next day. The whole thing is moot
right, I
because
understand that, but he said 90 days it could be down. So
No.
I'm trying to get clarification on what.
not 90 days. It'll be down. It'll be down. It'll be up throughout the whole construction period, up to 10 days after he gets the certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
Which
So,
is
but
really
if we prove it 90 days in
Prior.
advance, prior to, it could be up potentially 8 months to 9 months.
Right.
Right. And if he, let's say he doesn't get the building permit because of the sewage problems for the next 90 days. I think that's the problem he's having.
The issue is, I'm not going to put it up right away till I'm sure that I'm going to get that permit, because I don't want to put it up and then the sewage issue takes it longer than that 90 days. This is just an estimate. Okay, I'm going to make sure that at least we're going to be getting that permit soon before even I put up the sign.
Okay, so then we could put it that you can put it up as soon as you get the permit.
Then it doesn't really help me.
Well, because you said you're not going to put it up before you get the permit, so what difference does it make?
What I'm saying is I'm going to be sure that I'm going to get the permit. For instance, the architects, they've submitted all the plans in, and it takes some time for them to approve it. Once we know that they're going to approve it, then we can put up the sign.
Well, I think we're saying the same thing. So if this is saying you'll put it up once you know you're going to get the permit.
Yeah, but
And not 90 days.
Yes, but it might take some time, because once you get the permit, you're going to get your contractors and everybody set up so that they can start the work.
Right, well, that's why I said if we put in that you can put up your sign that you want to put up as soon as you get your permit. That's what you're asking for.
I wanted to put it up a little bit earlier, but that's fine if you know.
Because that's what I thought I heard you just say.
Okay.
I wanted to put it up a little earlier before
you get the permit. Okay.
Mayor and Council, can I ask a question?
Okay.
How long will it take you to start construction after you get the building permit?
If I get the permit, it's going to take about 4 weeks to 5 weeks to get all the contractors lined up before we start.
And just for clarification, Mayor and Council, you want the sign up after you get the permit, and after the permit, it may take you 4 to 6 weeks to get construction started, which is longer than the period
of the 5 days
requirement in our code.
Yes.
So you're not really asking for 3 months. Like if you get the building permit tomorrow, let's say, hypothetically, it'll take you 4 weeks to start construction. So you'll only have it up for 4 weeks.
Exactly, but we just estimated that 90 days as a number, because it takes some time to get started once you get your permit.
Well,
Is the sign going to be up during construction
the
also?
whole construction.
Yes.
That's allowed.
Right, and that's good. I mean, but I think that it ought to be from the time, like he's requesting, it's not really different from the time he gets
the building permit. Okay.
And then, obviously it'll be more than 5 days before you start.
Yeah, we're requesting to, for longer than the 5 days.
Certainly.
But that 90 days is just a number we put up there, because we know it's going to be longer than that 5 days before we start.
Okay. Mr. Martinez, you've been wanting to say something.
I welcome this idea. You know, we've had so much bad press about the buildings being closed and stuff. Anything that the city can do to help you get this construction going, because it's going to generate income, it's going to generate property tax for the city, it's going to generate sales tax for the city, and we need to do everything we can to encourage businesses to come to our city, and you know, I welcome you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any comments from our residents on this particular agenda item? We will not vote on it tonight. We will vote on it next meeting because of the requirement of the Home Rule Charter. Yes, Ms. Briscoe, if you'll come to the microphone, please. Yes, ma'am.
Barbara Briscoe,
Yes.
Leon Valley. I think it's great to give them the signage. It's an attractive sign. If I was going to be wanting to have a business here in Leon Valley, do you want an old building that doesn't look so nice? You want a nice new one, and perhaps the tenant will be able to get a better deal, so he'll have his stuff pre-leased. He can build it out to customer specifications. We can get pre-leasing. I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great marketing idea, and I agree with bringing more business into San Antonio.
You bet.
Into Leon Valley, pardon me.
Leon Valley, that's right. All righty, thank you. All right, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you for the input from the council and from our residents. Then we'll move then to agenda item 8.3. Ms. Postlewaite, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley City Council authorizing an amendment to the City of Leon Valley's Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, Article A10.000, Emergency Medical Services Fees, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. And Lisa Martin is back to present this agenda item. Welcome.
Good evening again.
Yes.
Thank you. For those who weren't here earlier, my name is Lisa Martin. I'm the Executive Assistant for Chief Valdez. And one of my primary duties is the oversight and management of EMS billing. The purpose of this presentation is to propose the change in structure and rate increase of EMS services. The reason for this proposal are, first, we have not had a rate increase in 10 years. That's 2008. We currently have the lowest rates in the region. We have an incompatible fee structure that does not match allowable structures of insurance companies, which means the insurance companies do not accept itemized verbiage. Therefore, when they receive a bill, they may pay for only a portion of that bill. The current system does not support the rising cost of medical supplies and other associated providing health care, such as ambulance equipment, staff, and et cetera. One of the things we evaluated for this increase proposal is we took the 10 most commonly used medical supplies, and you can see from the time frame of 2015 to 2018, if you look at glucagon, which is a diabetic treatment, in 2015, the price of glucagon, a dosage, was $128. In 2018, it is now $497.99, which is a substantial increase. The overall fees for is 260% increase from 2015 for these medical supplies. And you want to keep in mind that these are only 10 commonly used. We have over 100 medical supplies that we keep on stock, and that these are critical for to keep people alive. This slide is an overview of EMS providers, compatible providers. If you notice on this first column, ALS1 residents, which means advanced life support, which is critical. Arcadian has a fee of $1,088, Shorts $1,440, San Antonio's $950, San Marcos is $950, Hayes is $950, Chavano Park is $950, and Leon Valley is $650, which again is a substantial difference. The lower chart, we have the current fees for our EMS fees and our proposed fees and the average. So this is within the average. We're not trying to go to the top of the fee list. We're just trying to go within the average. This is our comparison from Emergicon, which is our billing company. This is for the 12 months we transitioned from Intermedics, which was our previous billing company. The collection rate and cash per transport are increasing at 6.85. There was a decrease in Medicare volume. There was a high increase in commercial insurance, and also level of insurance volume shifted to a more BLS runs, which means basic life support, from advanced life support. This chart is a month-to-month evaluation of the charges that we receive, the rates. We have, if you remember, Chief Valdez mentioned about a flat rate of 30% in regard to our EMS fees. We've never gone over 32%. And we are now averaging a 37% right now, so we're going in the right direction. It's going up. And we are also currently reviewing EMS procedures to streamline that, which we think that will also help with the percentage increase. Our evaluation is stating that the compatible bill isn't being processed by the billing company because it doesn't match what is allowable by insurance company standards. Billing recovery is trending upwards. However, increase in fees is needed to support the rising costs associated with EMS, providing billing structure and keeping it itemized and keep the Leon Valley Fire Department compatible with regional EMS systems. For transparency purposes, in the ordinance, there are some additional fees. There are existing fees with slight variance and changes. If you notice on Section 1 is extra attendant priority 1, which is for critical patients, or CPR, is $120. Extra attendant weight 300 plus pounds patient, $100. Extra attendance for stairs is $100. And this is because you need more manpower with these types of fees. Our staff recommendation is to approve the ordinance as presented, increasing the fees associated with providing emergency medical services. This is our physical impact, and before I continue, I just want to mention that we had an incorrect percentage, and so therefore what this slide is not in your packet. So this is an updated, corrected slide. And it's the current fees and the draft fee schedules are correct. It's just the percentages that have been corrected. The physical impact is what we did is we contacted Emergicon and we asked them if we had these proposed fees that were approved, if they're approved, were completed in previously 12 months, what would that physical impact be? So the current fee you'll see is in the black, and the new fees in the red. The increase in the green is showing that we would have had $56,726.59 if this was previously approved. Providing the citizens with good customer experience and quality care adds to overall quality of life. Providing good customer experience improves emergency services, which promotes a better image, which may attract businesses and new residents. That concludes our presentation. We stand for questions.
Okay, very good. Would you put back that slide with all of the comparisons? I appreciate that because I think that's always a good measure of where we are as we compare to other cities. And that's 37.33. That's of payment, or what is that?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
But, Chief, when we did this in 2008, how do we communicate this change to our residents? Of course, we have non-residents. And then also, is most of these proposed rates going to be covered by insurance? Or Medicare or Medicare?
Yeah, I don't know how it was communicated to the residents.
I don't remember, but I remember when we increased it, yeah.
Right, and,
Because we were way, way below, just like we are today.
right. And Emergicon has been kind of telling us we were below from the very beginning. One of, I don't want to raise rates. I'm not interested in doing that. I want to improve performance. At a certain point, we are trying to catch up with the rising costs associated with providing EMS. We're going to continue. She's doing a great job of continuing that effort to improve that performance. But we're at a point where we provide an excellent EMS service.
I know you do.
And so I think it's reasonable to stick with the industry standard in EMS fees. That's what we went for.
Well, some is a little bit higher than the average.
Right.
And what's your justification for that?
Recommendations from Emergicon and round numbers.
Round numbers.
Yeah.
Instead of 68 cents and 18 cents? Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. Good answer. All right. Anyone else? Yes. Councilor Jordan. Oh, excuse me. About communicating this fee structure. Could you address that before I just wanted to see?
I think we can certainly write an article and put it on our website and e-news and
okay, I just think that
share it.
This is a significant increase.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Councilor Jordan.
I just want to ensure I understand that what was presented. Is there a way to change the billing structure to where we can receive 100% of the services that we provide, and that would increase the billing within itself? And
So,
as such, would it be equivalent to what we see here now?
Not based on Emergicon's recommendation or any other structure that we see that we found. If you look at our current fee schedule, there's a whole menu of that you pick and choose from. If you have an oxygen mask, or if you've used this drug or an IV syringe or bandaging or splinting, then you just pick and choose from the menu and you charge accordingly. But the billing services don't recognize that. They don't use that method anymore. Nobody does. So with us, it's basically a lump sum of disposables if it's an advanced life support call, or a lump sum if it's a basic life support call, and then a standard associated fee with providing the services.
Is there a software program or something that could be implemented to identify everything was used, which would increase the rate, or am I misunderstanding the process?
That's on the billing company's side. So we don't have a way to identify that. We are looking at a way to identify what we're using in electronically in our inventory system right now, but as far as on a call, we don't scan anything or have to inventory. Even if when we document what we've used on a patient and it goes to the billing company, the billing company doesn't receive or recognize any of the different fees associated or indicated for reimbursement for those items as in our ordinance states currently. There's no way to recover that. They just simply look at that entire bill of $1,000 because you have your basic call plus all the disposables.
Right.
Then they just simply say, well, this program doesn't, Medicaid or Medicare or anybody else is just not going to recognize it. You're going to get paid this, and that's it.
So the only way to bring it up to average is for us to increase the fee schedule.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, I'm sorry. Councilor Arxter and then Councilor Martinez.
Found it an interesting statistic. You were charging less than what the insurance companies would pay. Is that my understanding?
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Councilor Martinez.
Well, if I understand it, the the insurance companies will only pay so much for a type of call, or can you put together a lump sum, call it a trauma kit 1 for this one type of call, trauma kit 2 for something else, and that has all the disposables that would normally be used for that? And just make it like a package, you know?
So that's essentially what we do when we have an ALS1 or ALS2 call. ALS1 is less intervention, but requires advanced life support, like starting an IV therapy and maybe giving a sublingual medication or a intramuscular injection. Whereas an ALS2 would be, we're going to intubate you, we're going to start breathing for you, we're going to start maybe pacing you, your heart. We're going to do CPR, start pushing some different types of drugs, or an overdose. That would be an ALS2. So that identifies a type of call. Now, every city may bill a little. If we look at Acadian, for instance, they're charging $1,088 for an ALS1, but they're not charging for any disposables.
Yeah, I saw
Okay?
that, yeah.
And Schertz is charging $1,440, but they're not charging for disposables. So, but we don't have a collection rate that supports that having that luxury, in my opinion. So that's why I made the recommendation that we charge for disposables. We are going. We have one of the lower collection rates. So if we had a higher collection rate, then obviously when we revisit this ordinance, that may be something that we could remove. But it's Emergicon's recommendation, it's my recommendation that we try to recover as much as we can on the call so that we can continue to support the necessary EMS service.
Okay, very good. Yes, Dr. Edwards.
What's the percentage of patients that you serve that are Leon Valley residents?
Don't have that number, sir.
Ballpark guess? Or?
I'm going to probably say 75%.
What happens when somebody can't pay?
They go into collections, and then the bill eventually gets just written off by the city, and we lose the funds. We have had a big difference in what we call charity care. And charity care is basically for people that have nothing, no ID, no insurance card, nothing. Homeless is often associated with that type of care. We've had a really big reduction in that type of service over this last year because
What is that attributed to?
I think it's attributed to some law enforcement.
Really?
I think we have less calls at some of our businesses and on the streets. That's what I think.
I'll be okay. Thank you very much. Is there any other questions or comments from our residents? Yes, we have an open. We want to hear from you because that's how we make a better decision. All right, Ms. Briscoe, back again.
I guess my first question is, are you currently operating at a loss?
Well, absolutely. EMS or something.
Okay. And then the other thing, just because I've done billing before, not currently, but no matter, you can bill Medicare $50,000 for a certain procedure code. But for that procedure code, they're going to be paying you $200, and that's it. So in a way, this billing is not representative of what anybody expects to get. Now, if they can go back to the customer and get the difference, then they're doing that. But, and generally speaking, as goes Medicare, so go all other insurance companies. Very rarely do they do that. And when Medicare decreases theirs, as the doctor knows, almost all other insurance companies follow suit, rightly or wrongly. So those amounts charged, to me, except for Leon Valley, who's charging less than Medicare will pay. Because I know my mom got one 9 years ago, and it was $900 then, and in San Antonio. So I think it's good for us to be raising it. And then someone asked a question about the billing, and Medicare and other places dictate how you bill what you bill. You can't just say, hey, we're using this software, because they'll say, no, you're not. So there's really no backup for that. So I think it's good if you're raising it, but how much people are billing is what they're anticipating getting as the copay, which a lot of people aren't going to have it. So I think your numbers are exactly right.
Okay, very good. Any other questions on this particular agenda item?
It's a very tough subject.
It is.
And we were trying to avoid, this very thing, 'cause, but we have to reorganize. So.
Right. Yes, Councilor Martinez has another question.
Is there any way that we can make future rate increases automatic that will follow the insurance standards instead of having us be 10 years
behind the curve?
Behind the
Yeah,
curve?
That's a good point.
We had anticipated that question. And what is recommended now is an annual review of our EMS rates, because the changes associated with the cost of medical supplies is just so fast. It's just leaving us behind. And so we owe it to our citizens to try to review that annually and determine if we're going to make a recommendation based on certain criteria.
And Mayor and Council, we have to bring it back to council no matter what, because we have to amend the fee schedule, because it's in our fee schedule. So we have to come back to council, even if they do it annually.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for all the work that you put into this and the research for the other cities and the proposals. So, all righty. Thank you. And we'll finalize it at the next meeting. All right.
Thank you.
Moving then to agenda number 8.4. Ms. Postley, if you'll please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the Leon Valley City Council granting a variance to Chapter 3, Building Regulations, Section 3.04.011, on-premises signs, C, freestanding signs, 4, landscaping buffer, to allow a pole sign to be installed with a decorative wall instead of the landscaping as required by code, located at 6007 Grissom Road, Leon Valley, Texas, providing for a repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Noven, welcome back.
Yes, thank you. Shall we wait for Dr. Edwards, or?
You can go ahead and start, and then he'll be right back. Yeah, he's not going to be that long.
Okay, well then this is another sign variance application, specifically for the landscape buffer that's required around pole signs. The applicant is Alberto Milmo, and he's requesting it specifically Chapter 3.04.011, on-premise signs freestanding for pole signs. He is asking for a variance to install a landscaped wall instead of a landscaped buffer around his pole sign to be located at 6007 Grissom Road, Valencia Lofts Apartments. Some history on this request. On March 15th of 2018, the Board of Adjustment approved a variance to construct a freestanding pole sign instead of a monument sign, and also to allow the applicant to reduce the minimum amount of required landscaping at the base of the sign from the 4 feet in each direction to a landscaped wall. This is specifically because the zoning code tells you where to put a pole sign, and the landscaping requirement is repeated in the zoning code, even though it's also in Chapter 3 of the sign code. The applicant is requesting that the City Council also allow this variance to reduce the minimum amount of required landscaping at the base of the sign from 4 feet in each direction to the landscaped wall. This is the location of the property near the Lutheran Church on Grissom Road. Here's the aerial. You can also see it's right next to Barcelona Lofts, which Mr. Milmo also owns. They're developing the property. So the city code actually states that for an on-premise freestanding sign, it requires a landscape buffer unless an alternative method of providing traffic and pedestrian safety is approved through the master sign plan. Each freestanding sign shall be placed within a landscaped area extending a minimum 4 feet from the sign in each direction. Such measurements shall begin at the sign base or at the edge of any overhang within 20 feet of the ground, whichever requires the greater barrier. Xeriscaping is encouraged. And again, this is just the plat with a star where the sign is going. Another site plan. Here we go, yes. This is the proposed sign. And this is a picture of the proposed landscaping wall feature in front of the pole sign. And this would be what it would look like at night. So some background, this property is zoned R3 multifamily. It's located within the Sustainability District. In 2009, the property was rezoned from B1, small business, to B2, retail, and B2 retail to R3 multifamily. And in 2016, the property was replatted as Valencia Lofts subdivision. The history of this block indicates that there are no variances granted for signage. But in 2012, the City Council approved a sign variance to allow a pole sign at 720 Bandera Road, the Raising Canes, without a required landscaping buffer. And in 2017, a variance was also granted to Quick Trip at 6461 Bandera Road to allow a pole sign, but this sign does have the landscaping at the base. The applicant states that the landscaped wall, instead of 4 feet in each direction, is due to site constraints. And I'm going to go back really quick to show you. You can see there's a drainage feature behind and a drainage feature in front of the proposed, the pole sign. So the alternatives are to approve the variance as requested, approve the variance with conditions, or deny the variance. And unfortunately, I do not see our applicant here.
Dr. Milmo's not here.
Dr. Milmo.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Were there any questions?
Very good.
Shall I go back?
Yeah, I think go back to the sign. I think the sign's quite lovely. I really do. I think it's pretty. He owns, this is phase 2, right?
It's a different name. I think
It
for loan purposes,
Oh, okay.
it is 2 separate projects.
So it's Barcelona Lofts and then Valencia Lofts.
Yes,
right?
you can see
Yeah.
you can see it
Mhm.
here. Yes, it's Barcelona, and this is going to be Valencia.
Okay. All right, and then the church is right
Right in the middle.
in between.
Yes, and here's the elementary school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, very good. And we have no representative from Valencia Lofts here. Okay, very good. We always like to have an applicant here, so.
He was invited.
He was invited, yes. Okay. Any questions on this proposed variance on the sign at Valencia Lofts? Yes, Councilor
Sorry.
Jordan. No, that's
Didn't
fine.
we make a policy if the representative wasn't here that the issue would not be, no action would be taken on it?
I think we've been,
Yeah, well, for the Board of Adjustment case, yes, he was.
This is the first hearing.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Henry,
he ought to be required to come for the next time. Should have been a requirement other than saying he's just asked.
I actually did hear from his office that he and his secretary, he had planned to come. I'm not sure what happened. But I'll make sure for the second reading he attends.
okay, I think that might be.
Do you know why he had to go to the Board of Adjustment first?
Yes, it was for the location of the pole sign, because right now in the zoning code, you're only allowed to have a pole sign next to the 410 flyover.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Very good. All right. All right, if there are no other questions, we have any other input from our citizens that are here? Yes, Cassie, come on up. And welcome back.
Do we know when that changed, that you weren't allowed to have pole signs? Because there's lots of pole signs on Grissom. I'm just wondering.
I believe that was 2010 with the overlay districts, the sustainability and commercial industrial.
Because I was just noticing the Barcelona doesn't have a pole sign, but pretty much everyone else around them does. I don't know if that makes a difference. I was looking on the street view. I don't know if that.
Barcelona does have a monument sign. One of the arguments with the Board of Adjustment was that the geography of the specific site, the drainage features, were causing an issue.
Okay, very good. All right. If there's no further questions on this particular agenda item, then we will move to the next ordinance, but ask Dr. Melmo, please be here for the second reading. Thank you. Agenda item number 8.5. Ms. Postlev, if you'll please read the ordinance.
An ordinance authorizing the amendment of ordinance number 2018-24 to correct the budget adjustment from the general fund to the stormwater fund in the amount of $123,724.43, authorizing a budget adjustment in the amount of $123,724.43 to the stormwater fund to fund the drainage improvement CDBG project at Hebner at Timber Hill, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for effective date.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is our second CDBG grant?
No, ma'am, this is one you've already heard before, but we made a mistake in the ordinance. And so I apologize for that.
Okay.
And then I also got my hand smacked by Vicki because she doesn't like to have any cents at the end of your amount anymore. She goes, just round it up
Okay,
or
so you
round
have 43
it down.
cents
But we
there.
didn't fix that one in this one, so she still has to do the cents.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So this is to consider the approval of an ordinance amending ordinance 2018-24. So that's the one you
That was
did
the one
pass.
we did back.
And that did authorize a budget adjustment, but from the general fund to provide remaining funds in this amount here with the 43 cents for Bear County CDBG Timber Hill at Hebner Drainage Improvement Project. The caption and the body of the ordinance reference the general fund reserve when they actually should have referenced the stormwater fund. This action will assure that the funds are taken from the appropriate source. When I went to ask Vicki, okay, where's my money? She went, well, I'm not giving it to you. Go back. So we recommend approval of the ordinance authorizing, amending ordinance 2018-24, authorizing the budget adjustment, and this time from the stormwater fund.
Okay.
We would like Melinda to model her shoes for you this evening, being that it's fiesta time. If you'd walk in front of the council, please.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, Melinda. They're
yeah,
her
those are
huarachis.
beautiful. Okay, very good.
We promised we would do that.
I was just going to ask you, since this is this was such a minor change, and I'd forgotten that we had addressed this earlier. Could this have been put on a consent agenda, or does it have to go back through the two readings again? Because it's so minor. It's just adjusting the fund, the place from the general fund to stormwater. That's all the change was.
That's true, Mayor, but that's up to whoever puts the items on the agenda. If you had wanted it on.
But I think Ms. Kinsler and I have talked about how can we put. What's the criteria more on consent? And all of a sudden I'm realizing this could have been one that we could have put on consent maybe, if we could.
Well,
or is it still required for two readings?
Well, because it's probably going to be two readings because what it is a brand new ordinance and it's amending another ordinance.
Okay, so we have to go through it. Okay.
It's going to have to go through the usual process.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to kind of speed the process if we could.
All right. How do people understand that they have to wait another month to get paid? There must be an alternate way to deal with it. Let's figure it out.
Well,
We'll
I
make
think
our own.
I think it was an election to amend the home rule charter, and that's coming in 2 years. So yeah, got to wait 2 years. Okay. Any other questions on this particular agenda item? If not, then we'll move then to. Thank you, Melinda. We'll move then to agenda item 8.6. Ms. Postlev, if you'll please read the ordinance.
An ordinance granting a variance to Chapter 3. I'm sorry. I jumped around. Start that over. An ordinance authorizing an amendment to the Leon Valley Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Article 1.06, Boards, Commissions, and Committees by adding Section 1.06.006, Board, Committee, and Commission Appointments and Succession, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Ms. March, you're going to present this one for us then.
Last one of the night, I promise.
Thank you for being here.
So this is to consider an ordinance which will revise Chapter 1, General Provisions, Article 1.6, Boards, Commissions, and Committees to add a new section to this, being Article 1.06006, Board Appointments and Succession. This article addresses the various boards, committees, and commissions, and it states in each of the board composition language that the members and alternates are to be appointed by the mayor and the city council. The article addressing the zoning commission, of course, is chapter, 15 now. It only, in this article, it's only addressed that they will actually be the capital improvements advisory committee as well as the zoning commission. So it doesn't address their makeup, you know, what their thing does. That language is actually found in the zoning code. And so Chapter 15, Establishment, Composition, Appointments, states that zoning commission members and alternates will be appointed by the mayor and passed and approved by the city council. The zoning commission would like to add a section to the general provisions in Chapter 1 that allows each board, commission, and committee to nominate an already appointed alternate member to a regular member position after they receive that person's written consent. Then they want to vote as a group for or against that alternate member, then send that recommendation to the mayor and city council for final approval.
Okay.
In other words, they'd like to have some say in moving a member up.
Okay, so can I just ask a question since that's...
Sure.
So in other words, at the zoning commission, we always had alternate 1, alternate 2, alternate 3, and then you had the 7-member board, and if somebody didn't show up, that first alternate moved in and got to vote.
They
Now,
were seated as a voting member by
Yes.
the chairman.
seated as a voting member by the chairman. Thank you. Okay, now, so this is going to change because what has happened in the past, to my recollection, is if we have a vacancy on the board, zoning committee member 1 automatically moves up, zoning member 2 moves to 1, zoning member 3 moves to 2, and then we appoint down here in 3. So this is different, right?
Actually, they don't automatically move up. If there's a vacancy, say you have a zoning commission meeting and one of the members doesn't show up that evening, the chairman has the right then to go ahead and move an alternate to a voting member position. But at the very next meeting, your members are all going to be back and the alternate just stays their alternate. So say somebody leaves the commission, says, bye, I can't do this anymore, and goes, the alternate does not automatically move up. You have to appoint them as a regular member.
Okay, but the comment to me has been, but you've already appointed them as alternates.
Right.
So why are we reappointing them? But I think we're reappointing them. I just want to get some more. We're reappointing them because it's a permanent position now.
Correct.
And we want to have a clean record, which we haven't had in the past. Is that
Well,
fair to say?
It's actually a little different because
Okay.
right now, even if the chairman of the commission said, okay, we have a vacancy, alternate, you just move up, now you're a permanent member. The code doesn't give them the right to do that. The only way that that can be done is if the chairman notifies you and then you appoint that person as a permanent member, and then that appointment goes to city council. So it actually can back up if we had a problem.
Yeah, see, we haven't been doing it that way.
No, we have not, and that's exactly what the code says. And so that's why the zoning commission was like, well, wait a minute, we don't want that. We want a process by where we can say, alternate, do you really want to be a permanent member? And then if that alternate consents in writing, then the chairman will recommend to you, hey, can you go ahead and just appoint this alternate as a permanent member? You still make the decision on whether or not, but at least they get some involvement in it.
But will they still go to the first alternate first, and then the second alternate, and then the
Yes.
third?
Yes.
Because, you know, again, when you appoint these people, I mean, sometimes they wait a year for a vacancy to occur, and so I just would like to keep that. So that process of asking 1, 2, and 3 will still be in effect.
Mayor,
It's just,
Mayor, I'm sorry, and council.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to clarify
Don't do
the difference
something.
between the alternate and the member, a seated
member.
member. The alternate is appointed as someone who is there as a substitute in the event that a member is missing. They're not a member, they weren't appointed as a member. And so, and then the member is appointed as a member. I don't know if that makes sense. That they shouldn't automatically move up per the code just because they're an alternate, and just because you're appointing them as an alternate. They should either, you either appoint members or you appoint alternates. It's not like interchangeable.
Okay, but I was just going to say that, I mean, for the years I've observed this, and alternates come to the meetings. They participate.
Yes.
They, you know.
They do.
They do. And so I want to honor that 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
And make sure that number 1 still gets first choice to move up into the member slot. I don't want to.
The way it's written.
Okay,
Yes.
I want to clarify that because.
I'll show you the language here in a minute that
Yeah.
they would like to have adopted, and
Yeah.
it does exactly
Okay,
that.
very good.
Well, 3 or 4 years ago, I was appointed first alternate on the zoning, and sometime during that process, like 2 or 3 months into it, somebody left the board for one reason or another, and I showed up one night and they said, "Okay, you're a member of the board now. You're a voting member. It's automatic," and that's the way it was done. You know.
And it was, and I
was
think because we
alternate
thought
number
that
1.
appointing you as an alternate meant appointing you to the board, but Ms. Frederick's saying, no, it's not, it's separate.
It's not automatic,
Yeah, and that's how it has been.
according to our code.
Was.
Yeah, that's how it's been for as long as I can remember. Did you have a question, Mr. Martinez, on this point?
Statement. Basically, this ordinance makes it the way it's been operating for the last umpteen years. It makes it official. You know, we appoint somebody as an alternate, they move up from third alternate, second alternate, first alternate, and then a member. But now there's one other step is now it's going to come back to City Council for ratification.
Correct.
But it's still
That's what we
the
didn't
same
have.
process that
That's what
we've
we
been
didn't
doing
have.
forever.
Correct.
But we didn't have that extra step when that alternate is moved. We didn't have any action.
Well,
But you're saying we're going to have action now.
Because we weren't following what our code said.
Yeah, mhm.
So we've been doing it wrong for
Yeah.
umpteen years, and so this is an attempt to get it right.
Something.
So,
I tell you, I don't how we get on a path.
Mayor,
we
and
finally.
council, you still have the option in this language, if you don't feel like the first or second or third alternate is someone who you want to appoint as a member, you still have the option of appointing one or 1, 2, or 3, or someone else completely, totally different.
Oh, okay.
yeah, and I'll show you that.
Well,
I've got
yeah.
that language in
All
this
right, well-
presentation.
And they can be appointed, I'm sorry, they can be appointed directly to the board as a sitting member and not as an alternate? Okay,
But it's up to the council.
Correct.
right.
Well,
What?
the mayor, I'm sorry, Mayor, council? The mayor appoints, and then the council approves.
Right.
So,
But what I'm saying, if we could have a first, second, and third alternate on the planning and zoning, and then somebody else that's not on the board at all can be appointed and go directly as a permanent member. And
Jumping over those three. That's.
and it's appointed by the mayor and approved by the council.
it's just your
Yeah.
option in the event that, that the alternates don't,
Well, I could
haven't
see,
been performing or
I
attending.
could see
or-
attendance. I could see definitely attendance, but I mean, if they
Whatever the
come
case
and
may
they've
be.
participated, I personally, and I think we all would like to honor their service.
Right. I just
You
want
know.
to clarify what.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I
No
didn't mean to,
problem.
but I just wanted to get it clear in my
Clarify,
mind what
sure.
we're doing here.
Mayor?
Yes, I'm
Excuse
sorry.
me. And I
Counselor Ely.
understand the sitting member absenteeism and the alternate stepping in, but then also, even if it's 1 or 2 meetings while we're in the process of getting an approved member, and as you said, if I still get the opportunity to vote, like, well, Ms. Frederick was saying, approve of someone else to step in that position, the alternate steps down. But they've been a sitting member in the interim until a voting member gets put in place, or the one you would choose to be the voting member. Then they step down. So they're a sitting member alternate until that point in time comes, or can remain so if that happens. But that should be in the wording as well. Like you were saying, it's up to the mayor to decide, yes or no, you're going to stay, or I can choose to have someone else. The board or the council members approve, you step down, thank you for your service, you step back down, and someone else stays in that position.
as a new member?
Actually, you don't even need that kind of language. With
No?
what this ordinance states in here, if you have a vacancy on the commission, the chairman is going to seat an alternate if they need a quorum, okay? And so, say you have an absence for 2 or 3 different meetings, okay? The chairman's still going to pull that alternate and seat them if they need a quorum. If they don't need them for a quorum, they're not going to seat them as a regular member.
Right.
Okay, but then eventually, a third time you're out and that person's off the commission, then they're going to ask that first alternate, would you like to be a member, a regular member of the commission? If that person consents in writing, then that recommendation is forwarded to the city council. And then the city council can say, yes, we ratify your recommendation, and yes, we will seat that alternate as a permanent member of the commission. And then you just go out and find another alternate to fill that,
There we
move
go.
them all
Yeah,
up.
move them all up.
So that's what this does. And the zoning commission feels like they and the other boards and commissions should have a voice in the approval process of an already appointed alternate member being elevated to the regular member position. They've worked with the people. You know, the alternates have been on their boards
They
and
know if they're
commissions for a
prepared
long
and-
time. They know how they operate. They know, that person also has now an historical knowledge of the code, which is quite valuable, as opposed to just appointing someone off the street who's never done like a Board of Adjustment or something like that before, which is pretty technical. And so that's why they wanted him. In addition to this proposed change to that chapter, they're also going to be forwarding a recommendation on a revision to the Zoning Codes Division 13, which also addresses the zoning codes, or the zoning commission's general duties, statutes, and basically it states in there also about how alternates and regular members are appointed. And so that is coming up at their April 24th meeting. So both codes will read the same.
Okay.
Because remember, this one's just in Chapter 1 of General City Codes. This one would be in Chapter 15 Zoning Code, so that they match.
Okay, so in other words, if we have another committee that has alternates, that they would follow this policy.
Yes, because the Park
Yeah.
Commission also has alternates,
right.
and the Board of Adjustment has alternates.
Okay.
I don't know if the police department's group has alternates or
Don't
not.
believe they do.
I don't
Yeah.
remember. But those three
I think
boards
those three
definitely
boards,
do.
yes.
And they're
No,
used
he
to be
said no.
considered top-tier boards. So.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's zoning statutory, so is Board of Adjustment, and Park isn't, but I
No,
know
but they're-
y'all were having trouble with getting a quorum many years ago, so we decided to add the alternates to that, so, okay, very good.
And as Ms. Frederick was saying, the proposed language in the ordinance reserves the council's right to appoint whomever they wish as either an alternate or regular member, should they not agree with that board, committee, or commission's recommendation. And here's the proposed language. All members and alternates shall be appointed by the city council through resolution. For boards and commissions that have alternates, if a member position becomes vacant, the regular members of that board, committee, or commission may ask the first alternate if he or she wishes to become a regular member. If the alternate consents to the appointment in writing, the board, committee, or commission shall vote to approve such recommendation and submit that recommendation to the city council that such alternate be appointed as a regular member and forward the written consent of the alternate. So they would also send that written consent to you so that you would know, yeah, this person really does want to be a regular member. Should the first alternate position be vacant or the alternate does not consent in writing, the board, committee, or commission may ask the second alternate, vote, and then forward such recommendation and written consent to the city council for appointment, and so on until a recommendation and written consent is presented to the city council. So here it's following your first alternate, second alternate, third alternate.
But you're adding it in writing.
In writing.
Never had that before.
I've had a couple of people on both the zoning commission and on the park commission say, man, I showed up and boom, one day I was just a regular member. Nobody told me, nobody asked me. It would have been nice to have been asked. And, I always ask them, well, do you mind? Well, no, I don't mind. But they still want to be asked.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
just a courtesy. And so should, in considering recommendations for the appointment to the membership, the city council may, in addition to the alternates, also consider other candidates for the member position. So there's where it says, no, city council is still in control of the process. They can actually do something else if they so choose. Doesn't have any fiscal impact. And on March 27th, the Zoning Commission recommended unanimous approval to this amendment to that
Okay,
chapter.
very good. Thank you. And thanks to the Zoning Commission for taking this on as well.
I hate to see when they get to chapter 3,
Uh-oh.
it's not in the zoning code.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all back
Yes.
down now. That's not your part.
There you go. Councilor Martinez.
I just have one question. Their recommendation, shouldn't that come through the mayor and not just to the council and direct?
The recommendation for,
An alternate moving up to regular member, shouldn't that recommendation go to the mayor and then the mayor will bring it to city council?
Mayor and council in the zoning commission, and I'm not sure whether it's in the general provisions, but I know that the commissioner, the zoning commissioner, has to report to the mayor that there's a vacancy first and foremost.
yes.
And so whatever flows from that, that's the way we're going here.
Correct.
But the first thing that they do, once there is a vacancy and they know that there's a vacancy, they have to report that to the mayor.
This is correct.
Okay, very good. Any other questions from our council or from our residents in the chamber this evening on this particular agenda item? Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see you over there. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to clarify, the word permanent member was used a lot. For the record, I just want to make it clear, there are no permanent members. All these members and alternate positions are 2-year terms. But they're not permanent.
You
There's a
should
word
say
appointed
regular
instead.
member.
Appointed
Correct.
instead, yeah.
Regular member.
Regular,
Correct.
yeah. Okay, very good. All right, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Okay, agenda item number 9 is citizens to be heard. Anyone in our chambers remaining that would like to have a final word on April 17th? Okay, very good. All right, so if there's no, well, we are going to move, instead of number 10, move to adjourn, we're going to move to, what's my word? Continue or reconvene. There you go. To our executive session that we started at 5:30 that we didn't finish. So at approximately, let's see, 9:53, we will move back into our executive session. And y'all have a wonderful evening and happy fiesta. And we'll see you at our next city council meeting, or we'll see you around. Good night. Can you imagine? All right, y'all. We're back from executive session under the section 551.071, consultation with attorney regarding the public purpose doctrine. And at this time, there's no action. And if there's no, that's when we reconvened at 10:53. And if there's no further objection, we move to adjourn the executive session and the regular meeting, right? We've got to adjourn both at 10:53 as well. Okay, thank y'all very much. I didn't realize it was so late.